Welcome everyone to episode 12 Monkeys of Real Time. My name is Ryan, and with me as always is the Bruce Willis to my Brad Pitt, Robbie.
Hey, I don't know why I didn't even think of that. I was like trying to think of movies that had 12 in the title, and I didn't even think about it. Did you actually see, I think Brad Pitt just recently talked about that movie, saying he thinks like one half of the movie he wasn't so good in, and one half he was good in. Like, I don't know, I didn't first read the rest of the details of that. I just read the blurb. But yeah, okay, cool. Right. I'm happy being the Bruce Willis here. You've got more of the Bruce Willis look.
Yeah, I've got the look at the moment, yes. But I think age comparison, it kind of works.
Yeah, I get where you're going with this.
No, it would actually, because Willis is older.
Yeah, Willis is older. Yeah, you're right.
Right, we'll get into some of the news, shall we? Let's get away from the 12 monkeys. You're listening to the 2 monkeys here.
The 2 monkeys
here. For damn sure.
Yeah.
Speaking of monkeys, go to Godzilla vs. Kong was pushed back to November 2020.
Oh, I'm almost broken already. So you just said you were looking at my list and you said, I hadn't seen that. No, they announced it, although they did show a little bit of it at an event just recently, and just a striking image of Godzilla fighting Kong on a aircraft carrier, I think it was. It's like barely very much a Godzilla, the last Godzilla movie kind of look, where it's kind of dark and there's lightning strikes and trying to get this kind of silhouette thing, and everyone went, "Ooh, that looks good." It's a single not image because it was frames, but it wasn't. It was a shot basically.
Yeah, and it's still part of the Universal Dark Universe.
No, it's never been part of that. It's always just been its own. Godzilla Kong universe. So Godzilla 2014, King of Monsters, Skull Island, and thus are all part of an interconnected universe. But yeah, I don't know. No.
Oh, I thought that was supposed to be like a dark universe with like the Mummy as well, that Tom Cruise one, weren't they?
No, that was Jekyll and Hyde and Frankenstein and all that sort of stuff. But that's misunderstanding. That's been rebooted again, funnily enough. Kind of, I guess. They're kind of, because they got that invisible man one, which is not part of it, but kind of is. But there's also an invisible woman part that's supposed to be a completely separate movie. I don't even understand that whole thing anymore. Yeah. Let's be honest.
Yeah, there's so many like universes that studios want to build now, and it gets confusing, so you can understand my confusion.
Yeah, I can understand the confusion, especially in the sense of like the Dark Universe has kind of failed miserably both times, because they had the Dracula Untold, the one they made like years ago, was supposed to be the start of that Dark Universe, and it didn't do very well. So
don't even know this, so it goes to show you probably why.
Yeah,
it's the first time hearing of it.
Okay, yeah, so that was supposed to be part of it, and then that failed, so they didn't do it again, and then they were going to do one with the Mummy, which you're correct about, and then that didn't do so good, so they kind of went, They had that cast photo, but it was probably pretty much I think a lot of people reckon most of it was photoshopped together, so the cast together.
That's right, they're all in different places, so it's like, let's get stock photos.
They might have been I think they were all photographed by the same person at different times, or a couple of them together maybe, but anyway.
I think I've seen something similar to that. I think it was, I can't remember.
It was the Lion King one.
That's what it was,
Beyonce was clean.
Yeah, she's photoshopped,
the rest of them are all there except for her, I think, and then she's been added. Yeah, that was pretty funny. Anyway, so Kong's been pushed back to November of next year, which isn't a surprise, because I think November's actually next year so far is reasonably light on content. It may just be about also finishing up effects and make sure the movie's polished and they're happier with it. The last Godzilla film did okay, but not great. Critically was not great. Fan-wise was okay, and money-wise I think was okay, but not spectacular. Wasn't like a flop. Hasn't been listed on the flops of the year. So I think maybe they're just trying to make sure that doesn't lead to a trend of lower returns.
Yeah, for sure.
Speaking of lower returns, speaking of high returns, actually.
I was going to say, speaking of Lion King, since we're talking about it.
Oh, yeah, true.
Yeah, Disney.
So Disney, the box office for Disney has been unsurprisingly absurd.
Yeah.
By week 48 of the year, so when just after Frozen 2 came out, Disney passed the $10 billion box office mark, which no studio has ever done.
You can't see this. I'm shaking my head. It's just mental.
Disney's previous record was like $7.8 billion in a year, so they've already beaten their record by quite a amount. That is before Star Wars is even considered. So obviously we've still got a couple more weeks left in the year. Actually, this year is kind of those weird years where we actually have like a 53rd week, but it's actually only one day.
Yeah.
So we've got 52 weeks in a day, basically, to count for the box office, and Star Wars isn't counted. If you also include the Fox films, it was just short of $12 billion. It was 11.998 or something stupid, like short of 12. So I'd say with Star Wars, you're probably looking at closer to 11
Yeah.
Plus the continual success of Frozen and anything else they've got out that's still trickling through, and then obviously Fox movies as well that continue for the rest of the month. So I would say 11 billion for Disney alone, probably closer to 13 with the Fox properties included.
Yeah, I'd like to know, like, with the purchase of Fox, whether Disney have broke even now, so they've made all that money back. They're like, yeah, sure, that's money we can just hand out.
I can't remember. I don't think it was. I remember the sale was multiple billions, I think.
Yeah.
But it's that's 2 billion alone, and it's less than its first year. Yeah. So you'd say it'll be easily probably 2.5 by this first year.
Probably got it back.
They'll get their money back. It's a pretty crazy thing to think, but it does open that question we've talked about the monopoly on Disney,
on studios as well.
It's just like
if Disney's going to get so big and get so much money, who are they going to go after next?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't looked at the ticket percentages, but I'd say by the end of the year it's going to be about 40% of all tickets sold at Disney or Fox films. So that's ridiculous. That's more than a third of all films being sold in domestic US anyway, at the very least, which usually guides well for the international. It'll be a very similar number internationally. So,
absolutely,
yeah, that's crazy.
Because I think behind the US, China's definitely the biggest market.
Yeah, definitely is the case.
We'll see what happens with that. It's just insane numbers.
Yeah, it's
like 10 years ago, you wouldn't even think of that.
No, but the thing is it's sustainable. Like, this is the thing, and I think this is a problem facing the industry as a whole, is like the sort of content that's being made as well. If you go and actually look at what those Disney films are, they're all mostly sequels. They're all mostly continuations of franchises. Your Marvel films, Star Wars,
ending, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah, direct sequel, and that's it. Like, they're just, is this a sustainable future? I don't know. Be interesting to see.
Yeah. Now, Kevin Feige, we'll move on. Kevin Feige says that another team-up movie will eventually happen in the MCU. Now, what we've already seen a potential Guardians one with, at the end of Endgame, they go off with Thor, so there's kind of an in there, but what's this one going to be?
Well, it's interesting. I wrote down the quote because I thought this would be helpful, just to kind of, I knew you'd probably talk about this like as in that concept. So I actually, this time, I don't usually do this, but I put down the quote.
It's all right, it works.
That he
helps fill the
No, it does. He put down the quote. The question was asked about whether or not they were going towards this team up movie, and his response was the following. Yeah, I mean, the MCU is all interconnected, but we really focus on one movie at a time. We're going to make the best Black Widow movie that we can possibly make, the best Eternals movie that we can make, the best Shang-Chi, Doctor Strange, Thor, Captain Marvel, Black Panther, right? And keep evolving their stories, and then, yes, it's always fun to see them come together in a master plan, which is, I promise you, well underway. Which isn't a surprise at all. Like, I mean, this is the thing. We've talked about it, the idea that it's not even just this cross-movie franchise, but now it's going to be this cross-media franchise with the Disney Plus shows.
Yeah.
And, like, there's a certain scope. It's great in that it's untested. Personally, I'd be very surprised how well it works. I think the movie, we've talked about this last episode, I think the movies are one thing, and you have your hardcore fans who will probably go see the movies and the shows. You have your semi-hardcore fans who only really watch the movies, and then slightly less than that only watch some of the movies, and then people who have like a passing interest, and then people don't watch them at all.
Yeah.
And I think they disproportionately think the numbers are much higher in the upper end than they are just because of the box office takings. But I think what's telling about that to me, I don't know if you agree with this, is you look at something like, say, Endgame and Infinity War and stuff, cool big team-up movies, but then look at something like Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah.
Like, still part of that puzzle, but the box office is not nearly as high. It doesn't equate those two things as being similar, and so I don't know how that works for the TV shows on Disney Plus either. Like, and that's even within themselves. Like, you could have Disney shows on Disney Plus that are more successful. Like, maybe everyone wants to tune in and see WandaVision, or they don't, and they watch Loki instead. And then why is one more important than the others if they're all important to the movies? So, it'd be very interesting to see what the outcome of it is, I think.
Yeah. I think they're still optimistic about having all this idea and sort of fleshing it out, but I still think they're taking a gamble of what's going to be more successful for them in the long run. like some of the movies as well.
Well, this is the thing. People said they've obviously got put a lot of importance on Captain Marvel in this later half to basically be replacement. I think what they've underestimated, and I think what's been shown, is that everyone really did like Tom Holland's Spider-Man so much that obviously had massive impact on this negotiation. And I feel like more people are probably in tune with wanting to see more Spider-Man than they're wanting to see more Captain Marvel. No offense to Brie Larson, but I just think Marvel predicted that this is the direction they wanted to go, but realistically the audience went in a different direction.
Yeah.
And I think this is the same problem you have across the board. They're going to do these shows, and there's no guarantee that one's going to be better than the other. It'll be whatever the fans pick up.
Yeah.
And then they have to react accordingly. And I think they've done their big plan thing, and it worked really well, but I think it's very cautionary to see how far ahead they can get.
Yeah, I think especially now, because of, 12 years or so, 13 years almost, they're taking a big gamble, trying to stick to their guns without changing it up.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. The next couple of years, people are predicting next year is going to be a DC year. Because it's the only thing you've got Eternals, you've got Black Widow, but next year you've also got, for DC, you've got the Harley Quinn film, you've got
Wonder Woman.
It's going to be very interesting to see how these go. But these are more standalone almost now. I don't know. And Suicide Squad as well, so coming up long after the fact. So we'll see.
Now, coming up to Christmas, there's a Home Alone remake in the works with Archie Yates from Jojo Rabbit, Ali Campbell, and Rob Delaney. I think unannounced characters, whereas Archie Yates has been confirmed as the main actor,
which makes sense. If you've seen Jojo Rabbit, which he's in, he's very good. They don't disguise. But the thing that's going to be interesting to me is in Jojo Rabbit, they don't really disguise his Britishness. So is he going to be? Is this going to be in Britain? Like, is this going to be Home Alone in England? Can he do
a good American accent?
I don't know, because they didn't even try and maybe he will. Maybe he's fine, but be interesting to see anyway. Like this begs the issue: do I really want to? Is it a reboot? Is it just another Home Alone film? Do I care?
I've read multiple reports that it's a reboot. It's going to be a standalone. It's going to be a reimagining, but I don't know. It's just one of those things. It's like, do we really need another one?
No, well, this is Disney again, isn't it? This is Disney taking over the Fox license and going, "Yep, cool. We're gonna do that." I don't know. The thing is, I'm still curious. I would probably go and see it. But it's one of those things, when you're a kid and you watch Home Alone, and I think we've talked about this a little bit before. You watch Home Alone when you're a kid, and it's like, it's funny watching them beat up the bad guys, and then when you get older, you're like, oh, that's got big painful.
How are these people not dead? So I think there's like videos online of like,
trying to work out
how much of it would be like brain damage, or you'd go into shock because of the nail through your foot, or the electrocution,
instant death, brick to the face.
Yeah.
I don't know how much. Maybe it's for a new generation. It's funny because we were talking about this a little bit. This is a side story. We were talking about the Disney taking over Star Wars and how you were like, then you have about the beheadings and all this sort of stuff. How much is Disney going to go down on that violence thing? Like, I can't see Disney. Disney's not like a pro-violence kind of like within reason. Like Marvel films, yes.
Yeah.
Comic books. Kid defending the house from robbers, maybe not as far forward as Fox would have done it in the past. Like, maybe I'm wrong.
Here's a kind of irony, if you think about it, that like we went and saw Star Wars last night, which we'll get to later on. But while I was sitting there, I was kind of thinking, what we haven't seen in this trilogy? A lost limb.
Yeah.
But yet, there was the whole Phase 2 Marvel films where a character lost a right arm because of Star Wars, and now Star Wars is under Disney, and we don't lose a limb. Yeah. It's kind of like, what?
There was some, I'm not going to spoil this, but there are some limb detachments in the new one.
That is true. I was more meaning the main characters.
But in general, main characters, and generally, or that they did them, and it isn't such a big thing. You were saying beheadings and limb attachments and stuff. They seem to have missed. I hadn't thought about that. It was
one of the memes, I think, when before Last Jedi came out, of like, it was a picture of Rey going, "What can I expect for my second film?" And it had Anakin and Luke going, "A lost hand" or something. Saying, or you can lose a limb. Sort of playing it up. But
if Rian Johnson hadn't directed that film, it probably would have happened.
It's possible, yeah. But who knows? Sidetrack there.
No, that's all right. But Home Alone is... I don't know. If you want your silly, absurdist violence on Home Alone, just go watch the first two. They're on Disney Plus. maybe even the third one. The third one's alright. It's got Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that the Scarlett Johansson one?
It's alright. The kid has a microchip and a remote control car, and they want it, and hijinks ensue. It's fine. Don't watch the other two; they're terrible.
Yeah.
But watch the first three; they're okay. Some people think the sequel's even better than the original, so that's not me, but some people.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Archie Yates is amazing. He was very funny in Jojo Rabbit, but. And Rob Delaney.
Whether it can be Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah, exactly. It's not the only reboot that Disney wants to do, though.
No.
They want to make a sequel to Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Yeah, speaking of kids getting in trouble.
Yeah, so that is a Disney movie to begin with. So Josh Gad's been touted as the adult Nick Selinsky, and I can see that. I can see that casting. And Joe Johnston's coming back to direct, which is also very impressive.
I think who's definitely going to know more about it than anyone else.
Exactly, but I think I'm more excited about this as an idea than Home Alone because the technology has changed to the point where that could be much more interesting. Because back when they did the original, to get the kids going to the garden, they had to build these massive sets of fake garden and bugs and stuff and grass, and it was
the house.
Cool for its time, but very time consuming, I'm assuming, and it limited the amount of setups and stuff you could probably do in it. CG now with that concept and being able to do it anywhere, you could probably do some really outlandish stuff, and you only have to look at like Ant-Man.
Oh, for sure.
For an example. So, I don't know, I'm kind of more interested in that, I think, because it could be an interesting idea. As a sequel, I don't know, I'm just like, it should be a reboot, I don't know.
Because Nick Selinsky, he was one of the kids originally, wasn't he?
He's in the first two, I think. No, he's in all three, because the parents get shrunk in the third one, and the kids have gone out and come back home.
It's Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, then Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves.
No, Honey, I Blew Up the Kids.
Honey, I Blew Up the Kid, then Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves.
So I can't remember who played Nick Selinsky. He's the same actor in the first two at the very least. Yeah, and obviously the chances of convincing Rick Moranis to come back and be a role in that movie,
at least a small cameo or something. Yeah,
it's got to be the chance, maybe. Even if it's just like a little one, but who knows? I mean, he would just be like, nah, not interesting. Don't want to do it.
Yeah, well, because I mean, we've got to talk about the Ghostbusters trailer, which launched recently as well, which we'll get to. But all the cast of that have pretty much come back, except for him, but. He may be back, but nobody's saying anything about it. We just don't know yet.
That's true. That is also very true.
It could be the same for this.
It could be the same for this, and all of a sudden it just turns up.
How late we've talked previously about in a past episode about Spaceballs' search for more money, and I mean, I suppose you couldn't really have that without Rick Moranis.
Yeah, it wouldn't work.
We'll see what happens with that, I guess.
I wish it was happening, but I don't think it's ever going to happen. This would be the perfect time to do it. Now this trilogy's come out. I mean, the previous prequel trilogy would have also been a good time to do it, but Yeah. Anyway, we should move on. I think. Anyway, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. I'm keen. It sounds like you're keen as well.
Yeah. So John Wick 4 and The Matrix 4, both Keanu Reeves films, both coming out on the same day. What one are you going to go see, or are you going to pull a back to back?
I'd probably pull a back to back.
Yeah.
I don't know which order I'd see them in though. Probably.
Oh, see, now that's the good question.
Probably Matrix 4 and then John Wick 4, I think. If I was going to pick them in order, I would probably do that. But it may just not be, it might be taken on my hands. It might be the schedule I turn up and then Matrix is on first. And I'm like, yep, that's a more suitable time. Whatever, I don't know. May 21st, 2021. Now, this is interesting. So John Wick 4, they set the release date when John Wick 3 came out. They were that confident with it when it released, the week that it came out, that they said, yep, we're scheduling the next movie 2 years away. On this date, this is the day we're picking. The Matrix Warner Brothers only just announced this literally last week. So, one of them's going to move.
Yeah.
I think that's the higher bet. I can't see them both staying there. The interesting thing is, too, that obviously Matrix 4 is definitely shooting soon. If not now, I think. John Wick 4, however, hasn't started shooting yet.
Yeah.
And while it is a lot
of time to play up.
Yeah, it's got probably have a quicker turnaround than the Matrix 4 would have. But if Keanu Reeves' schedule doesn't quite line up because of all the other things, including Matrix 4, then one of these is going to give them, it's probably going to be John Wick 4, and it's going to get pushed back.
Yeah.
So there's that problem, let alone the idea that one of them might budge anyway. I don't think Warner's is going to budge on it. I think they're going to go, right, we've released all the other Matrix movies when we released them in May. We're going to keep this consistent. Well, they didn't release the third one in May, but it was 2 in a year that year.
Yeah.
But every time there's been an early one, it's always been around the start of the early part of the year. We're going to do it so we're sticking with this. And I think John Wick 4 will be the one that shifts. I think Lionsgate doesn't have the clout to try and stick to that date, unfortunately.
No.
That's my take.
I mean, yeah, well, you've got a fair argument there, because Warner Brothers have been around for longer and they are a big, studio with the money behind them. But I guess we'll just wait and see which one will budge. But
John Wick is there's Lionsgate's biggest franchise now.
Yeah. I kind of think, like, if Lionsgate, rather, I don't know. I can't really see them going to court over it for anything.
No, it doesn't normally happen that way.
Yeah.
People just shift dates and stuff.
They'll just shift it. And it's, unfortunately, it could be John Wick 4 because, they picked the date first, which is just a shame, I reckon.
Yeah, I reckon so too. It's not the only thing Keanu Reeves that's coming out very soon. No. They've just released some official images of Bill and Ted Face the Music, which is coming out August next year. Which
we'd seen leaked images earlier on in the year.
Yes, these were just the first official ones from the publicity stills from the film. I'll let you talk about it. I'm gonna abstain from this conversation again.
Yeah, so the pictures that were released shows what I can assume is Bill and Ted's children.
Yeah, it is.
And it shows one image is Bill and Ted in the typical phone box, and the other one is they're talking to William Sadler's death.
Yes.
Who comes back as well. Now, looking at the pictures of Bill and Ted in death, in my opinion, William Sadler and Alex Winter have not aged too much.
Yep.
Whereas you look at Keanu Reeves, long John Wick hair, no beard.
It is kind of a weird look.
I'm so off-putting. If he had short Matrix Neo hair, I'd be okay with it. But just the long hair and no beard, it's really off-putting and unsettling to look at.
I think I put it more to the fact that you're just used to him with the beard. With
the
long hair
that's what it is.
Because I was thinking he looks pretty good for his age. He's in his 50s.
Yeah, he's like pushing 60 now, I think.
I think it's about 55, 56, something like that. So he looks good for that age. You're just not used to the look. Yeah. And it makes him
I think in the last 10 years I'm used to the beard.
Yeah, exactly. So he makes him look kind of... It doesn't make him look older or younger. It just makes him look unusual. And I think that's the thing. I think the age part is what is the issue.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Yeah, I have seen a picture which wasn't official. It's just sort of been leaked, which kind of makes up for it, where it's from Bill and Ted as well. And he's got the full-on beard, but he's got the sides of his head shaved.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that as well.
I think he's got like a weird mullet thing going on, so it's probably an alternative...
I think it's tied back
alternative timeline as well.
I think so, yeah. I get the feeling there's going to be some time jump stuff going on, obviously, with the time machine.
They've got the phone box as well.
Exactly.
So.
And they've talked about this. They've said other historical figures and obviously death backs. So it's like a combination of the other two. I'm still really curious. I'm going to be very interested to see what the first trailer's like when it comes out, but it doesn't matter what the trailer's going to be. I'm going to go see that movie. I'm such a massive fan of that franchise. I think it would be silly. I think it'd be silly just to let Keanu's non-beard face stop you from seeing it as well.
I'll go with like a little cut out beard. So every time I see him, I'll hold it up like Goonies.
Yeah. I had a Goonies moment last night.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Yeah, good. I wasn't the only one to notice.
I was thinking this as well. I'm glad you were thinking as well. I'm keen. I'm looking for the trailer, hopefully the next couple of months, and then the movie, August.
And as always, remember, be excellent to each other. Sorry, I should have waited till you stopped.
That's all right.
You almost did a spit take.
I did almost do that. Party on, dudes. So I just saw this. I don't know if you've seen this.
No.
I'll talk about it a little bit. So David Ayer, he did the Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
The original version. And he's always said that there was a lot of cooks in the kitchen, I guess, for the outcome of it.
Would you say there was too many cooks?
No.
Oh.
Maybe just.
All right.
There probably was too many cooks, let's be honest. I just want to bite down on that. But now he's going to remake The Dirty Dozen, which is almost kind of like a Suicide Squad 2. Yeah. Why? Why? I don't really see the point. I don't know. The original was such a classic. I wonder if you can the music, the iconic music. You know the music.
I think so.
Yeah. You've seen the Simpsons parody with Maggie and with the ball.
Oh, of course.
Yes. That whole Simpsons episode is basically a parody. It's got a big parody of The Dirty Dozen as well. I don't know. I just feel if I continue, I'm just going to ramble about how crap that idea is. Anyway, I'm going to stop now.
Yeah, we'll move on to our superhero news, or some superhero news, I guess.
DC stuff, anyway.
Yeah, DC for sure. There's a Flash standalone film with Ezra Miller scheduled for July 1st, 2021.
Yeah, this has been a long time coming. It's finally kind of coming together, I guess. Do I care enough? I know it sounds really bad, but I didn't. You haven't seen Justice League, so this is kind of hard. Like I can't really ask you the question I would ask otherwise, because you haven't seen it. Ezra Miller's fine. I just didn't really care about his version of the Flash.
Yeah.
So it's really hard for me to personally care about a standalone movie about that character when it was very difficult for me to even care about the character in the first place. It wasn't worse, he was fine. He just, maybe that's part of the movie. The movie didn't really give him a lot. Like, they kind of reduced his role, I think, a little bit. And he gets some of the funnier moments.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like this fish out of water character with it. Because he's not really... He's got these powers, obviously, but he doesn't know what to do with them at first.
And he's sort of the young outcast where everyone knows what they're doing.
Yeah. And they kind of played that off really well. And I think that would have been a really cool idea for a standalone film if they'd done that first. But of course, as we know, they kind of rushed this whole idea of a shared universe in the DC area first, rather than letting him establish himself as a character before adding him in. Because you could still have that uncertainty and unsureness of being part of a group dynamic, but he would be a little bit more confident than he would be.
Yeah.
It's ironic, too, because Marvel ended up doing the same thing with Spider-Man in Civil War.
Yeah.
He was kind of untested, a little bit naive. But they played it off the right way. He talks a lot. He's real nervous. He even admits this. Kind of like plays it up real. But he's still a good crime fighter. He's still a good fighter. And Ezra was really good at awkward.
Yeah.
And he was really funny in that role. But again, I'm not that enthused.
Sort of the wrong place.
Yeah. Again, if they'd done like a standalone movie first, maybe I would have felt better about it. Anyway. Yeah, and without you having not seen a Justice League, or at least the version that's been released, not the Zack Snyder cut,
yeah,
who knows? I mean, I know there was supposed to be more character development in the Snyder cut. That much I definitely know for sure. So it would have been interesting to see that, and that's why things like that I'm more interested in rather than Zack Snyder's storytelling abilities and flashy special effects. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'll be lining up on July 1st.
No,
to see it.
No. One of the other DC films coming out December 2021 is Black Adam, starring Dwayne Johnson. Now, that's coming out just months before Shazam 2 on April 1st.
Yeah, so they've announced Shazam 2. It is not an April. It's not an April Fool's joke. Yeah, 2022. You're right. It's not an April Fool's joke. That's the date because that just happens to be the release date in the States, which means here it would be like a March 30. Hang on, how many days does March have? You're thinking 31.
31, yeah.
Yes.
Yes, I was just doing that in my head. If you somehow were listening with headphones and you heard me going that.
Yeah. I could tell. I wasn't even hearing it clearly, but I could tell what you were doing. Even I was thinking about that myself, but I didn't do it out loud.
No. No, I'm 31, and yes, I still do that.
Yeah, so it'll be out here around then. I would say if it comes, day and date, kind of around the world. We always get movies on Thursdays, States cast them as Fridays. I'm keen on Shazam 2. I really liked the first one. It was a surprisingly good, solid film. It wasn't like amazing, but it was funny and smart and clever and nice. It was a nice balance of everything, and a little bit darker too than I was expecting too.
Yeah,
like everything within balance,
especially the boardroom.
That boardroom scene, yeah, jeepers.
I don't think anyone expected that.
No, I don't think so. So I think if these two things are kind of interconnected, which they obviously have to be, then having them like months apart, like this is a smart move.
Yeah,
it allows Black Adam to potentially leave on a bit of a cliffhanger and pick it up.
Yeah, because there was it 6 total? Like with Billy and his adopted brothers and sisters?
Yeah, so there's a seat left.
Yeah, if you look at the throne room, there was 7 seats, so one's clearly there for Black Adam later on, so that'll probably get explained in Black Adam, and then it'll lead into Shazam 2. Whether he cameos in it as just as a passing go, oh, hey, remember that movie from a few months ago? Here's that character.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be that. I think
he might even be in Shazam 2 as
I wouldn't be
villain,
surprised.
which I think is the rumor at this point.
I wouldn't be surprised if at that point it would make sense.
I have seen some fan artwork too of somebody's put Black Adam as like the Rock, as you will, giving Shazam a rock bottom.
Oh yeah, you mentioned this last time, yeah.
Which I found pretty funny.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
It wouldn't surprise me if that shows up in the movie.
So I guess there's a question. I mean, not knowing any marketing or anything, will you go see Black Adam, you reckon, and Shazam 2? Yeah. fair enough.
I mean, it's Dwayne Johnson. I'll probably go see it. I mean,
well, you hadn't seen Jumanji until like last week.
That's true.
Dwayne
Johnson can't really do any wrong, but we won't go into his Disney films.
I don't know if I agree with that, but most of the time.
Yeah, most of the time. He
can't
do any...
He's usually still... I'll give you this much. Even in his worst movies, it's usually not him that's the problem.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
That's true.
We'll move on. I was quite surprised to see this. So I knew they were making a new Mortal Kombat film. This is not unsurprising news. But they're releasing it on January 15th, 2021. So just a little over a year from now. It's a really weird time, I think. January is not... But now, as I said, we talked about last episode, we kind of got to this point where like all months are movie releasing months. So
yeah,
I don't think January should be that unusual. But it's just like, it's not... January's not usually a month for these sorts of movies. And there's a really specific reason for it, which is Oscars.
Yeah.
So the Oscar season...
The last little bit in there.
Yeah, it dominates kind of the December-January period. It's usually movies that have come out and they kind of re-release some of them or expand them back out a little bit wider. And so it's much more... January is a much quieter month. You have this carryover of blockbusters from December. So like right now, for example, you'd have your Star Wars and your Jumanji, and they continue into January. But you don't tend to release these sorts of movies so much in January. They kind of come very end of January, start of February. And this is why we were starting to see like the February release dates of like Black Panther and Deadpool. And that was considered quite early. Now, we're January 2021. Yeah, let's just chuck Mortal Kombat in there. There's no one else competing. Someone wants something different than the usual Oscar bait fare. Then they can have a kung fu science fiction movie, basically, with characters fighting each other for the realm of Earth. I'm very curious to see where it's going. It can't be any... I know this sounds disingenuous as this. It can't be any worse than the 1995 movie. No. And I actually like the 1995 movie. So it could be a lot worse like the sequel to that 1995 movie. But an updated take on it, cool. I'm interested.
I think the special effects these days would probably be better as well. But depending on how graded they are, I guess, with like you say, A grade, B grade, like
who's
animators and that. Yeah, that's more what I was trying to get at. But that probably really comes down to it, is the animation house.
That's true. That is totally true.
I mean, back then, there was pretty much ILM, but
there was a few.
There's a few mini.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. When that studio did the effects in 1995, they were like probably one of the earlier non-ILM studios in the UK. I think they're in the UK. And the effects in the 1995 film were actually pretty good for their time. The sequel, not so much, but definitely for 1995, I remember being quite outstanding mix. But again, it's one of those movies that people don't realise it does mix a lot of practical and CG effects. So like Goro, for example, in that movie is entirely a physical element, and it malfunctioned and played up like most animatronics do at various points. But it holds up so well because of that fact. It's a physical element. So they tried to continue to do that, I think, to keep budget down, to keep those sorts of things, and knowing that they couldn't do. And I think that's where that sequel went completely off the rails, where it went into all CG.
It was just a really expensive video game.
It wasn't even good. Like, it was a terrible video game if it was one. But yes, you're right. That's basically it. Yeah. So anyway, I'll probably go see that in January or whenever it comes out here. If it doesn't come out in January over here, but yeah, I don't know if you'll be that keen.
Probably not. No.
How feel about Mortal Kombat films?
No. Now you've got down here Tarantino talking another Kill Bill film.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Let me talk about this.
I'm going to ramble this out, and then I'm just going to let you talk afterwards because I'm going to see what you think about this. I've written more than what I gave you to, so you can hear this. All right. So Tarantino was talking let's preface this factually first. Tarantino's always talked about he's only going to do 10 movies and then he's going to quit 2 movies. Firstly, I think that's a dumb idea.
Yeah.
Personally. Anyway, but I'll come back to a reason why that's really dumb. But anyway, so Tarantino's now talking about doing another Kill Bill again, so a sequel.
Yeah.
And he says he's met with Uma Thurman to talk about it. Now, if you've seen the Kill Bill movies, and I know you have, the idea is that it was supposed to be the Ventura Green's daughter, the one that is near the start of Kill Bill 1, coming back to get revenge on Beatrix Kiddo for killing her mum in front of her, basically, more or less.
Yeah.
And he's talked about this a bit before, and that would possibly be the idea, although knowing Quentin Tarantino, it may have completely changed to something else.
Yeah.
But then in other interviews and stuff that's come out this week, he's also talking about that the last movie he did, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, was so big and bombastic, he's kind of like, I almost wish that was my 10th and last film, and I kind of want to do something smaller, which obviously a Kill Bill sequel would not be small.
No.
And obviously, as we've talked about before, he's talked about doing a Star Trek movie.
Yeah, an R-rated Star Trek
movie. It also came out this week, and I haven't read the real full details, but apparently at one stage as well, he also was planning on writing and directing a Halloween sequel. The 6th one, years ago. Oh, which is really weird to me. I haven't read the details. I just saw this before. So anyway, but the Star Trek thing, he's now said he probably won't get to do it. He hasn't talked to the people at Paramount, but it's probably not going to happen. So basically, I'm surmising the idea that he doesn't know what he's doing.
No.
And he doesn't know what he's going to do next. And realistically, maybe he just shouldn't have said that he's going to do 10 films, because I think that was the stupidest idea of all of them. Yeah.
it kind of puts a target. Well, not really a target, but it's kind of like going into his said last movie, you go, this is the last one I'm going to see from Tarantino.
And if it's not good, people are going to decry the fact it's not good. If it's really great, people are going to, why is he going to quit now when he's made such an amazing movie?
Exactly.
He's clearly got so many ideas. Like, as I said, if he's going to do a Halloween movie at one point, he still wants to do a Star Trek, and he's got an idea for a Kill Bill sequel.
You should just round it up to a dozen.
Well, no, he should just never have said it in the first place. Or just recant it. Just say, I was being stupid. I thought 10 movies and me dumb was a good idea, but you know what? Actually, I've got too many good ideas, and I want to keep producing and directing movies. I want to keep making stuff. There's nothing wrong with that. I think it's just a weird thing to say. I mean, other directors have done it. Like, you look at Steven Soderbergh. He went into retirement and then came out of retirement. He's made a few movies since. It's not an impossibility to backtrack on it. Sure, it doesn't look great, but it would have been better not to say it in the first place. But I think, obviously, Tarantino has many ideas about things he would like to do, and maybe limiting himself to one last movie is not the best way to approach how to work out what you're going to do. Because clearly, given all these random quotes we're getting from him all this week, or the last couple of weeks, he doesn't know what the hell he's doing.
No. I think he's thinking the way he sort of films, and it's like sort of very quick and all over the place sort of thing. So I think,
he needs a disjointed timeline for himself.
Yeah, his filming techniques have kind of gone over into his real life, and I don't think he's realised this. Yeah. So I think someone needs to stop him and tell him.
I don't know. It's a weird thing to me. Like, I think, the better option was just, like, don't say anything like that. Just keep making movies till you don't make movies no more. And that's it.
Where you get sick of it,
And then somebody says to you, you haven't made a movie in a long time, and you go, no, I've made enough. I felt like I've had enough. I don't want to make any more. I've retired from making films. Or don't say, I'm just not making movies right now, because it really leaves that door open in case you come up with an idea or want to do something, or after 10 years go, you know what, I've got another idea for a movie I'd really like to do, and I want to bring back some of the people I've worked with to be in the cast and crew and all that sort of stuff. Who knows, Anyway, silly. Yeah.
We'll move on.
Yes.
Now, something I just saw you watching before was the Ryan Reynolds starring Michael Bay film Six Underground, which is on Netflix.
It's definitely the Bayest of all Bay films, I think.
That's all right. We'll get a review in the next episode for sure. Now, I think I'd shown you, but there was the scene pretty much at the start. It was about the 8 or 9 minute mark, I think it was, where you eventually showed me that Ryan Reynolds, even though he's pretty much in the scene you're viewing, there's a shot where you actually see him in the background of the scene, and someone had found it from his social media when he was promoting it. Of like a car being flipped or thrown through the air, and you see it go behind him in his social media. And within the blink and you'll miss it scene, you actually see where he's standing against the brick wall and the figure standing there.
But which is funny, because people have been like pointing out, this is a goof, because clearly you can see Ryan Reynolds in the back, and but it's like, well, it's only a goof because he posted that clip to social media. If he'd never done that, you wouldn't know who that random blip of a person is standing by that wall in the background of the shot for about half a second.
Yeah, you'd almost think it's just somebody just walking down the road.
Exactly.
And then they hear the noise and go, shit, what was that, sort of thing,
Exactly. So
you wouldn't even know.
It's funny. Yes, in the car chase sequence, obviously, he's supposed to be in the green car that's in the front of the thing that's not being the one that's not being flipped. And he's supposed to be in there. But clearly their stunt driver's driving this, and clearly there's other people, it's a stunt. That's why he's there. And the gag was that I think I remember from that I remember seeing that social media video before the movie came out. He's just standing there like chatting away as if nothing's happening. And all of a sudden this car crash happens behind him.
I think it's supposed to be like the best thing about being on a Michael Bay set. Yeah. Or something like that, and then you just see the car
flipping through the air. Through the noise of something running along the road and then flipping through the air.
Yeah. So it's something like that. Either it's something to do with like the best thing about it, or people say so many explosions on a Michael Bay film or something. I can't remember. I should have watched it.
It's not true at all. And I can't remember.
I should have done my research here.
Yeah, something like that. But anyway, it's kind of funny. I like it. I think it adds a little bit of quirky like one of those random, like you and I like these, that random bit of trivia. Hey, did you know you can see Ryan Reynolds in the background of a shot where Ryan Reynolds is supposed to be in that car? Like, that's funny to me. Like, yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's the worst thing.
No.
So far the verdict's out. Verdict is not out on that film, but I definitely want to say it is definitely the Bayest of all Bay films so far I've ever seen. Like, that sequence in the start is like 15 minutes long plus.
Yeah.
And it's just car chases and explosions and women in Italy and like art being. I think I was talking to you. I can't believe they're going to manage to convince the Italian officials in where they are to let them drive cars and shoot guns in like historic places near famous artworks and sculptures. It's ridiculous. Oh, jeez. Anyway, what Michael Bay can get away with, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, let's continue.
Yeah. So, I think we've talked about this previously about a potential Ace Ventura 3. We're not talking about Junior.
That's the actual 3.
Yeah.
I've never seen that. I can't.
No, neither have I.
I don't think I could.
No. So, I think an actual Ace Ventura 3 is in the works, and Jim Carrey may come back.
If they can convince them to do it.
Yeah, I kind of think it may be the case, depending on how Sonic works as well, and the reception that he gets as Dr. Eggman or Robotnik.
Yeah.
As well, because I think...
Am I still... Oh, no, I was going to say it's not, but then he did Dumb and Dumber 2. Up until Dumb and Dumber 2, Ace Ventura... When Nature Calls was the only sequel he'd ever done. That was a sequel that he was in. He was in sequels where, like Kick-Ass 2, where he wasn't in the first.
Yeah.
That's what doesn't hold me very high hopes for this. Dumb and Dumber 2.
Yeah.
Not a great movie.
That's for me as well. I can't even remember if I've seen the whole thing. I think I've seen most of it. But that's probably how forgettable it was.
I think this is my problem, when I've talked about this before. My problem with it is that in the original movie, they're silly, and sometimes the things they do because they're silly hurts other people somewhat unintentionally. But in the sequel, they're just two nasty pricks. They just do stuff to be dicks.
Yeah,
and it's not funny. Like it's not funny at all. Like
no,
and they do it to each other. They do it to other people. It's not because they're dumb. They're just assholes. And it kind of lost that humor. So unless Jim Carrey came back and had a lot to say about the actual way it was going to be portrayed, or helped write the script, or like had a lot of input, I don't see how a very years later movie for that character is a good idea at this point.
Yeah,
that's my take.
Yeah,
that's my hot take.
Yeah, he's definitely going to look much older, like he did in Dumb and Dumber 2. But
being much older is not the problem.
It's
about tone and the point of him making a sequel at that point.
Yeah, yeah. As I said, I definitely think it's going to harken on how the reception to Sonic's going to work. But we'll wait and see. I think it's been rumoured for so many years now. It may just not happen at all. But we'll just see. Now, eBay has had its fair share of sales over the years.
Famous things.
Famous things as well. Like there's artwork and, well, I suppose here in New Zealand with Trade Me, there was the handbag that Tana Rumanga hit another person with.
Oh, yes.
That went up for sale. Now, something that most people would probably want to get their hands on would be a Star Wars script. Now, on eBay, that would go for a fair amount, I'd imagine.
Yeah, it's a good thing that they didn't.
Yeah. I think Disney were pretty prompt and were like, no, we'll take that, thank you. Or they got the seller to pull it down or something.
Something happened and they paid the seller to take it off. Yeah.
Now, I was looking at IMDb last night after we'd finished Star Wars, and it says on there about this that there was a Star Wars script found at a hotel room under the mattress that was then sold on eBay, but it doesn't tell you whose. But it's since come out, I think J.J. Abrams and John Boyega have both come out saying that it was John Boyega's script.
Yeah.
That got left there.
Under his bed.
So, yeah, I guess with your scripts, something like Star Wars as well, that should be under lock and key, I reckon.
So surprise. I mean, the thing that made it worse was that obviously the script was, all the print for the scripts had the various people's names on it. And so obviously they knew where it came from straight away as soon as I could see it. Like, and the thing is, do you chastise the person who found it and tried to sell it on eBay? Really? Like, to me, that's not like. I kind of want to say that's a really horrible thing to do, but like if I came across that script, I would probably consider it. I'd be like, wow, this is an actual legitimate Rise of Skywalker script. Like, I can tell this is the script. It looks official. Like,
yeah. See, if that was me, I'd probably consider selling it. But I was like, you know what? I might actually hold this, because then if I get the chance to meet some of the actors, I get them to sign it.
Yeah, but they'll probably get it confiscated off you at that point.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Well, it might not be so bad after the movies.
Yeah, if it's several years later or what have you.
Yeah, I see. That's what I would probably do, actually. You're right. I would hold on to it and not get rid of it, and just hold on to it for a number of years.
Yeah.
And then, try and get it signed if you could.
And then, it could be, say, how'd you get your hands on that? And you could tell this somewhat elaborate story, and they'd be like, X amount of time has passed. They'd be like, oh yeah, well, cool.
Doesn't really matter anymore because the movie's out there.
Yeah, movie's out. Everybody's seen it.
I'd be very interested to know as well if it had any of his own notes or anything in it. That would be,
or side notes or changes, But I guess we'll never know.
We'll never know. Yeah, I think he's learned a valuable lesson, never do that, because I remember seeing the interview where he said he got in a lot of trouble. His agent had been contacted by various members of high-ranking Disney officials in Lucasfilm. So, lesson learned.
Yeah, I definitely think so.
Yeah, I can't blame them. I can't blame them for trying.
No. They were just trying to earn a buck.
I wonder if someone else, what would have happened if someone else had bought it and they didn't realise? How Disney came across it.
Or if the general internet didn't come across it first.
I want to hear the rest of that story. I want to know how it was found and what happened. I want to hear that part of it at some point. I'm sure it'll come out eventually.
Yeah. Now, we'll move on. I was reading a couple of weeks ago that the Back to the Future kicks off the 2020 TCM Classic Film Festival.
I love how we're like, at this point, where Back to the Future is considered a classic film.
Yeah.
Like, it makes me feel so old.
I mean,
we're 5 years past Back to the Future 2's date now. Like, we're coming towards it. By the time this festival's coming on, it's like, that'll be 5 years. That's nuts. I remember going in 2015.
32 years,
I can't believe it was 2015 all of a sudden. It's like, freaking hell.
Yeah, we still had no flying cars and or hoverboards. Or was it Jaws 39? I think it was.
Is it 39 or 32? I can't remember.
Whatever Jaws they were up to, yeah.
Max Spielberg. Yeah. Where's your directorial career, Max Spielberg?
Yeah. Come on, Max.
Your father wanted you to be an amazing director like he was, and you haven't done shit. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, it's a classic film. It's just making me feel really old.
Yeah. I think that's the thing, eh? Like, it's one of those sort of multi-generational films where, yes, it's been years since it came out, but, like, anybody could really sort of pick it up and watch it. Like, there's no... Yes, there's all right, some somewhat adult content in there of Marty and his mother. Well, that's explained to some children.
That's the irony. I love that
kind
story.
of glaze over it at some point.
Well, that's what I mean. That's the Disney was like, it's too risque for us, and everyone else is not risque enough. It's like, well.
But yeah, I guess in a way it is a classic.
Oh, it is. It is. I mean, I get that. I get that. It's just this idea of thinking this movie will be 35 years old.
Yeah.
There's to put a date on it. Because when you think of like stuff like classic films, you're thinking, my mind normally goes, oh, right, cool. Something from the 50s or whatever.
Yeah, 50s and 60s.
But I forget when I've talked to people that are younger than me, and especially at work, and they think about classic film, or someone talks about film and it came out in like 1991, and they're like, that's really old. And I'm like, 1991 is not old.
Yeah.
It's not old at all. And then I think about it a bit more, and I'm like, okay, that was years ago. It's kind of old to them, I guess, if they're like 20 themselves. That's ages ago. Right.
Yeah, it's just insane. Like, I think there needs to be.
I mean, that's older than them. Sorry.
Yeah, there's probably a certain time limit of how long a movie's been out before it's deemed a classic.
Well, it's kind of interesting.
Like, to me, I reckon it's about 40 to 50 years, and maybe something's aged well as it's gotten older.
I don't know, because sometimes, I mean. Yeah, and fundamentally I think that's where I come from too. That's why I feel like I'm like looking at this going Back to the Future. It's like, it is 35 years old. That's getting there. And you think about it, but then I'm like that. It's that whole thing. It doesn't feel like a movie that's that old.
Yeah,
I think that's probably the bigger picture to me. I'm like, to me, it's one of those movies I watched a lot when I was young, and I don't think about the fact that back then it was like 5-ish years old when I first saw it. Because I think I saw it about the time the sequels came out.
Yeah.
That's when I first ever saw it, and I was about 6 or 7. And, so I would have been about 4 years old. So it's like, it's just something when you grow up with it and it becomes that thing and you forget how old it is.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Well, it's late for me. Like, the first time I saw it was at least the early 2000s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So that's much later.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're not that, I mean, you're younger than me, but not that
Not
much
by
younger.
much, no.
5 years.
So,
you know, like, that's, so you obviously saw it a lot later than I did anyway, by comparison. But did it feel like an old film when you saw it?
not really.
No.
Like, to me, like, when I first saw it, I was like, wow, this still holds up pretty well. I think at that stage, I don't know, we'll put a date on it, we'll say, like...
15 years?
Yeah,
16
well,
years?
I think 03 or 04 is when I saw it. So
17, 18 years.
Yeah, so almost 20 years. It's still held up pretty well.
Yeah,
to me anyway. I mean, it's one of those movies where it doesn't need like a special edition or an HD remaster. Like everything still holds up.
Yeah, we've talked about this before because I've said, you know, I was wearing a shirt with Jaws on it at work, and somebody was talking about The Shallows with Blake Lively. It came out that year, and they were like, "Oh, it was a really good shark movie." And I was like, "Oh yeah, is it like better than Jaws?" And they were like, "Jaws is crap. It's old. Nobody watches Jaws." I'm like sitting there in my Jaws t-shirt, like that was why I brought it up. And like I'm like, and everyone's just like looking at me, going, "Are you going to say something about that?" I was just like,
"Oh, it's gonna be a fight!"
And I'm like. What is my argument going to do to change your mind? It's not going to change your mind. She's clearly like, I'm not going to watch the old shark movie. It's boring and dull and old.
Yeah.
I want to see the new shark movie with Blake Lively in it that I really like.
It's actually going to scare me more.
Yeah. And the thing about that movie as well is that the shark's not really visible in it either. It's actually more about the tension about what little you see. Yeah. And it very much cribs on that idea that Spielberg accidentally went on board with Jaws. But it's a modern take, you know. It's a modern take of a shark movie. Not the same story, obviously, but yeah. It's interesting anyway. It's the same thing we've talked about time and time again with, you know, and again, we were talking about movies feeling old. Did you see anything else on the classic film? Did they have anything else?
No, that was the only headline. Like I actually clicked on the article, but there was nothing else mentioned.
It's starting it,
so I guess that's starting it. So I was like, yeah, all right, I guess.
I'm just going to skip forward. We're speaking of classic films, so the US has the National Film Registry, and they basically vault films.
Yeah.
Funny side, do you know about Star Wars and the National Film Registry?
I didn't, but I know you've told me recently.
Okay, yeah. So this is bringing up just for relevance, but the National Film Registry registers the 1977 cut of Star Wars in the registry. They do not have a copy of it. Lucasfilm never provided them a copy. George Lucas would never provide them a copy because, again, the special editions. And they would not take the special editions because they're not the version that came out.
Not the original, yeah.
The version that came out in 1977. So it is technically in the film registry, though they do not have a copy of it.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough. But for other movies that did just get recently added, I'll let you talk about them.
Yep. So there's Prince's Purple Rain.
Yep. 1985.
Amadeus.
1984.
As soon as I saw that, I couldn't not sing the Amadeus song and or Dr. Zayas from The Simpsons.
Oh, God.
Boys Don't Cry, which is the Hilary Swank movie.
Yeah.
She won the Oscar for it, didn't she?
Yep. Kimberly Pierce is director. It's a really good movie if you haven't seen it.
And one that we both love, Clerks.
Yeah, 1994 from Kevin Smith. This again, like this is what we're talking about with when you were talking about classics. Purple Rain, Amadeus, 80s. Boys Don't Cry, Clerks, 90s. Are we at that point where you think that 90s movies are classic? This is not about classic. This is about films of historical importance. They have a cultural or importance to them that transcedes maybe even box office. Some of the movies in there will be not great box office. But yeah, it's so interesting to me because the first three movies, like to me, have a very heavy importance to themselves. Purple Rain, somewhat, but definitely still. Clerks to me just seems so absurdist that it's like, oh well, it's an NFL. Like, I wonder what Kevin Smith. I probably can find out what Kevin Smith thinks. Let's be honest. I'm sure he's done a video about it already.
Over the moon, yeah.
I'm sure he's stoked to know that one of his films has been considered a film of national importance. But it was. I mean, it was one of the biggest renters in VHS. It was stolen more than VHS than anything else. It was just one of those cult films that had a purpose and a weight to it. So that's pretty amazing. I'm quite impressed by that. And you know, really good films. So if you go and look at the list of films in the film registry itself, there's some really massive films. So your Godfathers and all that sort of stuff. They're obviously there, but in Star Wars, like we talked about, they don't have a copy. That's a pretty big deal. Yeah.
Now, our last bit of news before we get on to our trailers is there's a vacation TV spin-off coming, which is supposed to deal with like the Griswold family and their daily lives. Now, I don't know if this is the actual title or someone just put it in to be clever, but apparently it's called Staycation.
Staycation.
So it's just going to be at home or around their local town.
I saw Johnny Galecki is involved with this.
Oh, I didn't even see that.
That bit I saw, which is interesting because he actually was in one of the vacation films. So, was it Christmas Vacation? I think it was Christmas Vacation.
I don't remember.
And so having him involved in some level was kind of unusual. But there's no information about if it's a retake on the Griswolds, if it's connected to them, because obviously we've had the vacation film a couple of years ago with Ed Helms playing the grown-up Rusty, and it still had Chevy Chase and Beverly D'Angelo in as the parents, as the Griswolds. Whether or not that's going to be connected to that, if it's completely different, I don't know. Do I care? Probably not, to be quite honest. Like, yeah, I like the films. I like the first 3 anyway. The rest of them are like pretty silly, like the Christmas Vacation 2 and all that sort of stuff. And the 2015...
It's trying to make money out of them.
Yeah, the 2015 version was alright, but again, Chris Hemsworth ended up being one of the funniest parts of that movie. That year, he had like an outstanding comedy year. I don't understand it, eh? The rest of the movie was alright. Christina Applegate was really good in it as well. Yeah. It was a good casting. It was just... It fell a little bit flat. Yeah, I don't know. What about yourself? Would you watch it? I'll take that as a no.
Yeah, well, I haven't even seen all the rest. I think I saw the first Vacation like years ago, but I don't think I've seen any of the others.
You haven't seen European Vacation or Christmas Vacation is?
I don't think so.
Have to add it to your list.
All right, we'll chuck it on, and no doubt I'll give a review of it at some point.
We'll see what you think. Yeah. I don't know. Should we add another ding to you?
Yeah, why not? If you've still got that somewhere.
No,
right, we'll move on to our trailers now.
Yep.
Now, we missed one in our last episode, which we don't know how, was Fantasy Island.
I think we know how. I think it was reasonably forgettable.
Cool. Yeah.
I looked at it and went, oh yeah, cool, like every idea on Fantasy Island. I think the idea on it's kind of cool, but I'm not really, it's not grabbing me.
No, it kind of looks like they're taking the main concept of Fantasy Island and kind of turned it into like Saw.
A little bit, like if you're there for your fantasy, you get to live out the fantasy, but it has some sort of real world impact on, like, so if you wanted to get revenge on someone, they actually bring the person to the island and you enact revenge, but it's realistic that you actually end up doing that revenge.
Yeah, it's actually real and not like a hologram or something.
The thing that belies that why it doesn't work for me, and this is where I think there's going to be some twists in the movie, and there's kind of little hints of it in the trailer, is that obviously not everyone's fantasy on coming to that island is about getting revenge. Some people just want a nice experience or whatever it is, that's something they missed out on. And also it belies the idea of, like, I'm sure there's someone who has a fantasy about wanting to bring someone back. They want to spend more time with someone who's died. How do you do that? Like, there's a lot of questions in the air, and I think it's those things that would make me more interested. That makes me more interested in the movie. But even then, it's still not enough. And I think that's the reason why we kind of glossed over it. We saw it and went, "Oh yeah, cool. Must remember to add that." Completely forgot about it, and then you remembered. I didn't.
Yeah. Wow. I'm sorry about that.
That's all right. So, what did you think? Like, are you on that same boat?
Yeah, I'm on the same sort of thing. Or would you say playing?
The plane.
Yeah.
God, I set that one up too unintentionally well, I think.
That was too good. Yeah, I'll probably give it a miss. To be honest, I'll probably see it at work at some point.
You probably will, actually, along with episodes of the original TV series.
Yeah. No doubt we'll get that for Jones.
Yeah, Jones will probably repeat on there. Shall we move on? We'll move on to the next one. Black Widow. So the next Marvel film due out is Black Widow, and they finally released a trailer, and it's set in Budapest, which isn't surprising because I knew it was being filmed there. Yep. And that's about it. I'll let you talk about it because I really didn't gel with this too much.
Yeah, so it seems to focus on what we saw in Age of Ultron of Black Widow's bringing up with the Red Room and like the ballerinas and all that and the Russians. And it definitely seems to focus on that as a part of it, maybe more of a flashback, but it more focuses on her going back to Budapest and meeting her sister and her father.
Okay. So, and this is set after Civil War, but before Infinity War, I think this is the time frame.
Yes.
So it'll explain maybe why her hair is blonde by the time we see her. And
yeah, I think that's the main point. I did see something where Kevin Feige had come out and confirmed when it actually takes place, but I forgot to read the article.
I think it's that. I think that's what I heard.
At the very least, I think it sets after Civil War.
And before that.
Yeah, and before that, and they're pretty much going to go full Carrie Fisher on it and use unused footage of Robert Downey Jr. from Civil War in this.
Yeah.
So Tony Stark's coming back, but
I'm sure
he
could also do some ADR as well. So
but it's still a prequel in a way. So
I think
he's back, but he's not back, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think there's a big question is, do you think that... I saw another comment from Scarlett Johansson saying that ended up making this movie ended up being at the right time. Everyone might think it's it's being late because of obviously what happened in Endgame. Spoilers if you have somehow still not seen that. I don't know if I agree with it. I feel like this is still a little bit late. I feel like they should have done this movie around the time it was due to be existing, and it showed if they should have planned it to have it after Civil War, it probably would have made more sense.
Yeah, and they should have pushed maybe Endgame back or something for next year for that reason or something. Or then
push the whole schedule.
Yeah, push everything back one movie film, or something, But
because they're never going to release Infinity War Endgame in November, so they planned it out where they were both out at May, which is their peak summer, coming into summer movie launch, April, May. I don't know. I'm gonna be interested. I'm gonna go see it because I'm
why not? We'll give Disney more of our money.
Exactly. We can add to their billions of dollars. Well, we did last night anyway, so add to the billions of dollars.
Yeah.
So the other trailer that was a big one that released the same week was the new James Bond No Time to Die trailer.
Yep.
It really kind of threw me off. I don't know where it's going. It's kind of interesting. It obviously sets up as a direct continual sequel, as they all have been for the Daniel Craig era, but then it seems like he left with Swan, and I'm trying to say this because you haven't seen Spectre, have you? No. There's a setup at the end of that kind of seems to be paid off, but then he's covering his ears right now. It's like, I don't want to hear these spoilers. I haven't seen the movie, and so but it already belies that payoff. I don't know what's going on, so I'm confused. But that's probably part of the mystique of the trailer. Looked like some good stunts. I mean, it looks like a James Bond film of the modern era.
Ramp.
Oh yeah, but that was one of them, and there's a couple others, and yeah, I'm sure it'll be interesting. They somehow obviously managed to convince him back into the fold, but also through his CIA contact, Felix. So I'll go see it. I think I've said to you, I'm going to try and maybe watch them all again.
Yeah. Before it comes
out. I've got from January. I've got 3 months. I think just over 3 months. So yeah, that's enough time to try and watch 24. I don't know. I'm sure.
Yeah. There's also the Mulan trailer got released as well, which Anne wants to take me along to, but she wants me to see the original first. So
which thankfully is on Disney Plus, so you can watch that.
Thanks, Disney.
No animated dragons, or was it? What's the insect? So the I was going to say stick insect. It's Praying Mantis. The trailer getting played last night actually before Star Wars, which was good to see on that screen. I like it because it's a very different take. I think if you're going to remake these films in live action form, you have to do something interesting and unique with them, and I think this is it. But I think it still suffers that same problem, which I'll be very interested to see what the box office is compared to, say, something like The Lion King or Aladdin, where they were already quite... Not to say Mulan isn't beloved by people who do like it. It's a really good movie. I really like it myself. But I don't think it has that draw that The Lion King and Aladdin had.
Yeah.
And both of them ended up easily, well, Aladdin but they both passed $1 billion each. I suspect Mulan will do okay for Disney. It just won't be $1 billion. It'll be like 700,000.
Yeah. It'll be six figures.
I hope that the critics come out and go, it's really good, and it convinces people to see it. And the first wave of people going to see it then also tell their friends, like it's really good, and it becomes a word of mouth thing. Yeah, exactly. Because I really want to see it succeed, and it's not just because I've said this before. It's not just because of the New Zealand connection. Not just Nikki Cara. I just think it's different. The original film's different as well, and I think doing something interesting and unique a little bit more with the remake of it in live action is much more interesting than just making a one-for-one remake.
Yeah, for the sake of it.
Exactly.
There was also, speaking of Ryan Reynolds earlier, Free Guy with Ryan Reynolds, which is Ryan Reynolds and GTA Online.
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate.
It's pretty much all the reviews are saying of it so far, of the trailer.
I kind of... It's one of those films in theory I really want to be on board with, but when I watched the trailer I was a little bit like, alright, I guess it's okay. It just seems like there's a unique idea here, I think, but It's not executable. But the irony is, do you know there's a Ryan Reynolds movie called The Nines? Have you ever seen it?
No.
Okay. Kind of the same idea, funnily enough. He kind of exists in a world that's more like The Sims than it is. To kind of say more would be just spoil it, I think, for anyone who hasn't seen it. But it's kind of weird that he's done this movie, and that was 10 years ago, I think. Maybe even longer than that. Was it 2007 or 2009? I forget. I'll probably go see it because, I think it's interesting enough that it's probably worth a laugh. But it's either going to have to do something very interesting that's not in those trailers, that's trying not to spoil to be really good, or it's just going to come off about pretty much the same level as the trailer, I think. And which will be fine. It'll be worth an entertainment. It'll be a laugh, and I'm sure there's going to be some clever gags and stuff in it, and it'll be funny because it's Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
But it'll be fine. It'll just be what it is. So.
Yeah, I think I read somewhere that it was someone sort of described the trailer as They Live meets Ready Player One meets GTA Online, which I would say is pretty damn accurate.
Yeah, I use that overlay, but obviously he's playing a guy. Do you know what the other thing I realised that I didn't think about the first time I watched it, but it very much has shades of the Lego Movie.
Yeah,
because he's
I just had to quickly think about it.
Yeah, he gets up. He has like the same lot of shirts. He goes and gets his coffee. It's like him living in existence because obviously he's a pre-program. In this case, he's a pre-programmed character who's supposed to follow certain routines, and he always wears the same clothes. And he does that's why the bank thing has like today stamped on it because they don't.
There's no actual date.
There's no generic date on it. And I was starting to think about it. So I was like, this setup is way too much like the Lego Movie when I think about it. It's like the every character, like Emmett was just
the Joe everybody.
Yeah, exactly. And I right in this case right down to the name guy. So I don't know. We'll see.
There was also the Wonder Woman 1984 trailer, which we sort of touched on earlier as well.
It's interesting because I'd seen there was leaks. I didn't intend to see this. This was not my intent. I saw leaks because someone posted online without covering spoilers or anything about literally a screen grab of someone who'd been to a test screening and had blatted out a bunch of stuff to do with the movie. They didn't seem that impressed by it from the way that it had been written. I got about a quarter of the way through it when I started realising what I was actually reading. You know, when you start reading something and you just think they're just talking generic stuff about it, but then you realise, oh shit, they're actually talking some actual details here. So I kind of stopped reading it. But the problem is, the bit I have read kind of told me enough, and then I've seen the trailer, and it definitely matches up with the trailer, and I'm like, oh. And I'm interested to see where this goes. The response to the trailer online, I think, has been really positive. People are liking the look of it. I think we've pretty much established that Blue Monday is now the go-to track to set your thing to the 80s.
Yeah.
Remixed or not, it is definitely the sound of the 80s. I don't know. I really ended up finding the original Wonder Woman a really nice surprise, and I kind of don't. I think I want to try and know as little as possible about this. Fortunately, that's kind of gone a little bit out of the wayside because of that person putting up that post, which I was not happy about. What was your take?
I enjoyed it. I'm definitely going to be intrigued to see what way it goes. I remember reading something about a week ago saying that they're just bringing back Steve Roger to kill him again, which is kind of interesting to.
I did read the. I think it was Patty Jenkins or someone had made a comment about the scripting of the story, and they said we brought back Steve for a particular reason. It's not for just because. It's not because of the first movie. We had a solid idea and why it makes sense for us and why it's important to the film. And thankfully that bit wasn't covered in the spoiler stuff that I accidentally did read. So I'd be interested to know. What I have read of that is how he's back. And I'm not going to talk about that because I know what it is now. And if you watch the trailer, there's a big clue to it as well that people won't pick up until they've seen the movie, I suspect. But, because you kind of need context. But having read that now, I kind of know. And now it makes sense. And I'm kind of like, oh, well, okay, yeah, I'm kind of curious to see how this plays out. And I think it's those little hooks that are still keeping me very engaged in it. So, yeah, I'll definitely go see it.
Okay. No, there was the Paul Rudd Ghostbusters film came out.
I like how we're calling this the Paul Rudd Ghostbusters film now.
It's because, we don't know how much the original cast is going to be in it, so I guess in a way you could kind of call it the Paul Rudd Ghostbusters.
Yeah, because he's the only adult. Well, I think he's the only adult aside from the Carrie Coon's mother appearance, who appears in the trailer very little as well, to be fair. It's interesting, the trailer has no, with the exception of a voiceover culled directly from the original movie, has no actors from the original movie in the trailer, which I thought was very ballsy, like to do a first reveal of this properly and actually show the characters. I joked with people at work and a couple who asked me if I'd seen it. It very much Ghostbusters meets Super 8 vibes. But then other people have said, it's very much a connection to like Stranger Things and that sort of stuff, in more ways than one, obviously. I'm going to see it. I don't think there's any question I was not going to go see it. Ghostbusters is one of my favourite movies. I even went and saw the Melissa McCarthy one, and I was like, yeah, it was alright. Like, I didn't hate it, not like everyone else, it seemed. I was like, it was just not good, but it was fine. Like, it was what it was. I'm more excited about this. I've talked about some of the Easter eggs in the trailer. Yeah. I pointed one out to you to do with the mine. The mine has the name Shandor on it, which a lot of people would not have paid attention and even noticed that, which kind of connects probably why it's obviously Egon's their grandfather. It's pretty much spelled out in the trailer. We all assumed that anyway. That he would have this random farm barn thing in the middle of nowhere for no reason except for the fact that it's mine. I'm very interested. Because of obviously Slimer's appearance, unless he's in that trap for some weird reason,
because it does glow pretty green, so you'd kind of assume it's Slimer.
If it's not in there, then I'm thinking, well, maybe they also use the mine. They were there for research, something to do with Ivo Shandor, who's for the backstory of this. If people don't know this, in the original Ghostbusters, the building that is in the movie that's the one by Central Park he was the architect, and the whole thing they talk about while they're in the prison is his background and what the connection is, and him trying to basically summon Gozer and all this sort of stuff. So obviously he, aside from being an architect, he made a lot of money, obviously being some sort of mining magnate or whatever it is. So they're kind of trying to draw these connections, I think, to the original movie in a very tactile way. But I'm very interested to see if they've like buried the containment unit for the ghosts somewhere in this mine as well, because it seems like such a thing you would do. Like they don't have the place in what happened to the firehouse in New York and stuff. We'll find out probably what happened to the Ghostbusters post 1989. So it'll be very interesting to see what the heck goes on. I think it's really cool seeing Paul Rudd's character as well, being very enthusiastic about it. It's kind of meta to me because obviously there'll be a bunch of kids these days who are like, what's Ghostbusters? Yeah. And then him trying to explain.
Like Paul Rudd, who kids may know.
That might, from like Ant-Man stuff, explaining what Ghostbusters was like 35 years ago is probably...
Especially with Paul Rudd and his not aging as well,
Here's a flashback of Paul Rudd as a teenager watching the Ghostbusters do stuff. We'll just put Paul Rudd in his ears now.
Yeah.
God. So I don't know. I'm keen. What about you? You're just a bigger Ghostbusters fan.
I definitely think I'd be keen. I mean, I think you've shown me some of the Ghostbusters game as well of how they've I won't say retconned the Ecto-1, but they've taken all the Ghostbusters 2 logo off and put like the original one on. And it definitely looks like they may have done the same with this one.
Yeah, it's got the standard logo.
There's no parts from the second Ecto, or the 1A, I should say, on it. So it's the original Ecto one. So
yeah, I'm interested too because
that's a bit odd.
The movie implies the 30 years, but it seems to be, which would make it 89, which is when the second one was in. It was 5 years after the first in 84. But the footage he shows is from the first Ghostbusters. Yeah. So and it talks directly, and they've talked about it in the marketing materials about the Manhattan Cross Rip of 1984. Yeah. So I don't know if it's ignoring Ghostbusters 2, or Ghostbusters 2 events happened and nothing else has happened since, or if it's going to take into account this Ghostbusters video game as an actual event that happened to them in 1991, and that was kind of the last ghost thing. He did say there's been ghost sighting for like 30 years.
Yeah, so that would imply 89.
Around 89, but then it could be this isn't set in 2019, it's set in 2014. Who knows? So we don't know at this point. We honestly don't know anything. So it'll be interesting to see where they go on that scheme of thing. I don't see any reason why to ignore Ghostbusters 2, whether or not they take into account the Ghostbusters video game, which is set in 91. We'll see. But that has to do with Shandor as well, funnily enough. There's a lot to do with Shandor and Gozer and stuff in that. No spoilers, but I mean, essentially it will be if you're going to play the game, but Shandor ends up being a very big part of that plot, which is why the name appearance in the trailer was quite... interesting to me anyway. Yeah, it's interesting too. I think the one thing that people point out is the little ejected booster seat, which actually comes from the cartoon. Yeah. Which was quite a cool little touch.
I don't think, because was it the girl that's in it or something, or is it the boy?
I can't remember.
It says something as it pops out. It's pops out. Oh, cool, like suicide. Oh no, gunner.
Gunner seat.
It's got a gunner seat. That's what it was.
And that's that was from the cartoon, and it had established that in the movies until this point. So it's kind of cool that they ended up actually having that in there because it makes sense. They can easily do it. But it's kind of cool as well. So yeah, you got any other thoughts? I'll leave you.
No.
You're just like, I'm going to go see it.
Yeah, we'll wait for the second one and see whether I'd want to go see it more.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Speaking of gunners, there was a Top Gun Maverick trailer came out. Though, I don't know whether you'd reference gunners, probably more just topless beach volleyball with homosexual innuendos.
Yeah, it's gonna be football by the looks of this trailer stuff. Yeah. I saw if you saw the trailer. Miles Teller plays Goose's son. You see him in the trailer. There's just a lot of callbacks and references musically, audibly. Even some of the flying in there. They are obviously callbacks. The breaking thing where he pops up. You watched the trailer, I should. Yeah. It's one of those questions, like, even Tom Cruise is getting a lot, and I think I just saw a comment, even Tarantino asked him, was like, why? Coming back to it, like, I'm interviewing asking why. There's what's his name?
John Hamm?
John Hamm, thank you. John Hamm's in the movie. And so John Hamm even said, like, on the first day, said, how does it feel? Is it weird making a sequel to Top Gun? And he was like, yeah, it's real weird. Or something to that effect. So I don't know.
Tom Cruise feels then.
Yeah, well, that's what Tom Cruise was saying. Sorry, that's what I meant. He asked Tom Cruise, how does it feel being in? He's like, yeah, it's really weird. So that's what Tom Cruise thought was about it. It's like, I don't know. So there's a lot of actual flying and stuff shown in the trailer, and it's obviously actually Tom Cruise in the pilot seat, which is continuing his trend of doing nutty things.
And kind of concerning, because those jets are worth millions.
I'm sure he's covered his insurance very well. I don't know. I'm not at all Top Gun is what it is, and unless you're Quentin Tarantino and start talking about sword fights, it is what it is. I don't know if I'm really that keen to go see it at the movies. I don't know. Yeah, anyway. I'll move on.
Yeah, I'll move on to do a DC animated film quickly, which will be straight to DVD because none of these get cinema releases. It was Superman Red Son animated trailer. Now, I know some about this, and it's sort of based on the concept where if Superman arrived in Russia instead of Kansas.
Oh, okay.
So he's brought up in Russia. I don't know by who, and he becomes like a Russian, I guess, super soldier in a way, but he kind of helps Russia win the Cold War, or he's their secret weapon for the Cold War. I don't know too much about the story because I haven't read the comic, but from this it looks like he takes on Batman and Wonder Woman and a whole bunch of Green Lanterns. So I'll probably keep an eye out on that, and no doubt I'll keep with my DC animated films and buy it.
Yeah, you've got most of them.
I can give a review on it.
Good.
At a later date,
I'll be keen to hear this.
I'll probably go buy the comic too, so I've got context before I go see it.
Is it one of those ones that's based on a comic series and they've turned into anime? Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
so
it's in my opinion, it's what DC do well. Is that they take their comic books, they turn it into an animated movie, and for the most part, they're pretty good. I won't go into the first 45 minutes of The Killing Joke.
Yeah, okay. Yep, I get that one.
Yeah.
Yep, I haven't seen that. I know what you mean.
But, yeah, the DC animated films, in my opinion, are pretty good.
Yeah. I've heard of this concept before, but I don't know that much about it, so it's very intriguing, and it makes sense. I mean, and ironically, I haven't watched it still, but Brightburn, which came out earlier this year, had that same idea of, like, in this case, Superman landed on Earth, but then what if he turned evil? Yeah. Which is kind of halfway between the two, I guess. It's interesting. I like these sorts of alternate universe takes of things, so that's a really cool idea. Cool. You'll have to let us know when if you pick it up and watch it.
Yeah, we'll do. Now we'll move onward to Onward, shall we? There was a trailer for that. I think you've put this down. I didn't see this.
So it was a new trailer. It just gives it a little bit more of the story and a bit more of the adventure. Some of it had already been like, I think this is the third trailer, so they had like a little teaser, and then which didn't really tell you what the quest, what they were going on was. Then there was a trailer that kind of dropped the information about them. So their father had died, and he'd given them like a magic staff that allows them to bring him back for a day. And when it activates, they somehow screw it up and end up only with half his body being experienced, just his legs. So they have to go on this quest to try and figure out how they can bring back the rest of him to see him before the time runs out, otherwise I'll never get the chance to see him again. The other two kids, like one of them's older, is the Chris Pratt one, who knows the father, but the young one never really knew him because he was too young.
Yeah.
And so, Yeah. It seems like they go and like it's one of those quest movies and they get told information and they accidentally don't get told other bits of information. It looks quite more cartoony than perhaps Pixar's other affairs kind of like have been. But then knowing Pixar's usually have quite an emotional heft to the whole thing, and it's probably still there. It's just right now being overshadowed by like craziness.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It could be interesting. Comparatively compared to Soul, which we talked about last episode, they had the trailer for that, which was much more contemplative. I think it was very small and felt a bit more like a side to Inside Out in a way. This is very much more bombastic and quite large. It'd be interesting. I think Pixar films, unique original Pixar films, are pretty consistently good. There's very few of them that haven't been. Brave is still good, but underviewed. Still haven't seen The Good Dinosaur. It's the only one I don't think I haven't seen. That didn't get very good reviews, but everything else is done pretty well. That isn't a sequel.
Okay.
And then some of the sequels have to.
Okay, well, I haven't seen this, but from what you've just said, I've pictured in my head somehow an origin story to Cow and Chicken, because the parents in that, I don't know if you remember, the parents in that are just legs.
I'd forgotten
They're
that.
from the waist down,
yeah.
And somehow they have a chicken and a cow as children.
Yeah.
Biological children.
This is
not a pair of legs that have just...
In Onward, it's
pets.
like a fantasy world where like there's like minotaurs and like wizards and stuff. Like it's a very much a fantasy kind of land, and this is why they've got a magic staff and all this sort of stuff. But yeah, the legs are just legs, and they try and it almost gives me the idea of a Weekend at Bernie's reference, where like they've put like a fake top on, and they put sunglasses at the hoodie, and then closed up the hoodie, but the head's kind of like this, because there's nothing holding it up really, so they probably got like a stick or something, and they're holding it up, and I was just like, okay, that's kind of funny. It's Chris Pratt and Tom Holland. Should be right. I mean, Tom Holland's done a lot of voice work of late, so yeah. So the other thing that came out just today, and I don't know how long it's going to be before they edit this, but so it was a few days ago, was just a little teaser for A Quiet Place Part 2. I think the interesting thing, and I think I said this to you just before we started the record, is that they've called it Part 2 with like part and the Roman numerals, and it reminds me very much of Last of Us Part 2, and I think that may be something close intent with that kind of. It's not the same thing, but you know what I mean, that sort of environment. It does not show very much. It just shows them trying to walk along a path, and they've put down stuff to try and not stand on leaves, and then the path runs out and they have to make that step onto the leaves, but it's going to make noise. I still haven't seen the first one.
I was about to ask if
I still haven't seen the first one. I know the gist. I know I'm supposed to see it. I actually have a copy of it on Blu-ray. I bought it real cheap for the intent of watching it. I still haven't watched it. So before the second one comes out, I'm going to have to sit down and watch the first one. I'll tell you when I'm going to see it, so if you want to watch it as well.
I think that's a ding for you.
It is a ding for me. It's a nice change. So you haven't seen it either, so it's a ding for both of us, really.
All right, double ding.
But it'll be an interesting watch, I think, and I'll have to watch the first one. So not much else I can say about that. It was just a little teaser. I think a proper trailer is probably going to come out not too far away. It's usually
next week or two, give or take. Right, now, we went and saw Star Wars last night, and we saw the Mulan trailer, which we mentioned just before. Now, there was also a prologue for Tenet as well.
Yeah. So,
which, oh my god, what the hell?
Yeah.
So I still don't know what I saw.
Just to revisit, the preview, the prologue is like an actual, it's like the ones he's done, that Christopher Nolan's done before for like Dark Knight, Returns, Dark Knight Rises and Dark Knight, where it's like about 6 to 8 minutes of the actual film.
Yeah.
This is a shot in actual IMAX. It was all IMAX. It was full frame the whole time. I think this whole movie is pretty much either shot in IMAX or 65 and IMAX 70mm format. So it's a big frame the whole time. And there's an actual trailer for the movie coming out on Thursday for everyone. It's going to go on the internet, but won't probably have the preview. We'll have probably some shots from it and some of the stuff we saw. There was like a little mini trailer at the end of the prologue. What could you ascertain from that prologue?
From what I could ascertain, it's I won't really say time travel or anything, but it kind of looks as though if there's like a bullet shot in a wall or something, some guys either got the power to reset that bullet shot, like make it look brand new, or he can visualize it or something.
I got the latter. I think he's seeing stuff before it happens, which then he can use to predict what he needs to do next. So the general premise of what I got was that there was a high-profile target watching a concert performance in a hall, and they wanted some people dressed up as some sort of police squads wanted to get this guy, so they gassed the theatre so that it knocks everyone out. And then
apart from him,
except for him, because I think that maybe they've sealed off the room, like because it was in his own little balcony room, and he was the only one in any of the balconies. And there was him and a guy with him in the balcony, and the guy had a gun, and he was going to threaten to shoot him. And then this one guy out of the group has come to get him, but it turns out he's not part of the group that is invading.
He's a different sect.
Yeah, he's a different organisation or an individual actor, or there's a group. But there's a group of them. They use passcodes to kind of identify each other. And then he manages to break him out and tries to convince him not to move, otherwise he gets shot. And I'm just thinking about them firing guns at people, and there's all these people that are knocked out, and there's some of them getting killed during this moment. And then they're going around and planting bombs at the base of the seat. They're going to blow the place up with all these people gassed in it. But then he decides he's going to go around and get all the bombs, gather them up, and throw them in a bag and get them away so that people don't get killed. But yeah, then we see this thing where he's like picking up one of these things, and a guy is supposedly shot at him because we see the bullet hole, and then the bullet hole disappears, and then he deflects the guy being able to shoot him before it happens.
Yeah.
And it was, I was just like
some sort of telepathy or something.
And it happened so fast, I was like, whoa, what was that? Like, did I just, because you hear and see the shot, but in reverse. And it was like, wow. And then later on in the teaser, there's this thing where him and Robert Pattinson are driving a car, and they're witnessing a car crash, except it's happening in reverse. But they're driving forwards. So the car's driving forwards, and the other car's like rolling backwards and getting undamaged, as if they're like seeing the accident that was going to happen already. Oh, it's crazy.
It's real weird, and I still can't figure out what I saw.
It's crazy that you can watch a 6-8 minute prologue to something and still walk away not knowing much more. The only other thing that's obviously a big clue is that the logo reads backwards and forwards the same, and upside down it still reads.
Yeah, so as soon as it gets to the end, it's all capitalized, so as soon as it gets to the end, it's flipped upside down. But you can still sort of read it if you flip it around, kind of like Princess Bride.
When it spins, you can spin it and read it, and it reads the same letters backwards and forwards, obviously being T-E-N-E-T, which obviously has a big clue. Yeah. And they sneakily announced the trailer date for the 19th on the Twitter and Instagram and all this sort of stuff by having the logo spinning, and where it stopped, changed colours, if you put a clock on it, it would read you a date, which was an American format. So yeah, we can't really tell you much more than what we saw. It really did make a lot of sense, and you'll probably get to see, by the time this records out, I'd say the trailer would have already dropped. And this did want me to lead on to one thing. We talked about this before. I've complained about this promotion of Nolan's film already previously, which is that it's turning an event into, we're going to see this because it's Nolan's film and we don't know what the hell's going on, as opposed to actually promoting the movie. And it's weird that you can sit through like a prologue like we did and walk away with questions, yes, but still, like, do I care enough to...
You're kind of intrigued to
go see it, but it's still not enough. And then you're supposed to combine that with Christopher Nolan's prestige, no pun intended, the prestige of his work to go see it. And, I'm kind of, I'm going to go on those rants, but I'm kind of sick of this. And then what happened today, I told Ryan this earlier this week, Vin Diesel said he'd seen it was a 4-minute cut trailer, but there's obviously going to be a shorter version, because legally they're not allowed to have a trailer that long. There's like a ruling in the States for that classification thing, it has to be more than 2 minutes or whatever it is, for the new Fast and Furious 9, and said there'll be more announced on the 18th. Lo and behold, the 18th comes, and you think, right, they're just going to drop a trailer. That makes sense, right? No, it's an announcement for a concert/promotions event in Miami in January next year, 31st, where fans can go to the event, and they're going to show the trailer there, and then it's going to drop publicly. So we've basically turned the trailer for a movie into an event, rather than just being like, hey, here's the trailer for Fast and Furious 9. They're just like, the idea is that you want the stuff so much that we're going to make you think that the event of a trailer is as important as a movie. And it's like, no, this is backwards. This is not how marketing should be working. We shouldn't be allowing organizations. So, I mean, what's my resolve? Oh, well, then, I just won't go see Fast and Furious 9. That's the way I will vote against this, to not pay for a ticket to go see it, because that's the only way that they learn, is because this is it. They know the last few movies have made billions of dollars, so therefore they know there's a rabid fan base out there. Even though, and this is the point that I just want to point out as countering as well, Hobbs and Shaw did okay. It didn't make Fast and Furious money.
No.
And that's because it just didn't have people just aren't as invested, I think, as they think they are. But I don't know. I could be wrong. It'll turn out and Fast and Furious 9 makes $1.5 billion again, and everyone goes, "Oh, it was a really good sequel." And yeah, but I think this we having teasers for trailers was bad enough, but having pre-announcements for fan-based concert events over a month out from a trailer reveal is a little bit grandiose.
Yeah, it's just insane. Like, I don't think we need all that. Like, let alone, I don't think we need a trailer for a trailer. It's just getting absurd. Like, just give us a date for a trailer and then put the fucking trailer out.
Yeah, or don't put a trailer out. If you think it's this important that everyone's just going to see it anyway, then we don't even need a trailer. Like, we just know that, cool, just tell us the release date for Fast and Furious 9, cool, we're going to go see it. Christopher Nolan's new film, Tenet, that's what the title is, that's all you're going to tell us, cool. Yeah. We will make our judgment whether or not we want to spend the money on it. This is the thing, the point of a trailer is marketing. It's a marketing tool, it's not an art form. You're turning the trailer into an event is not making the trailer better. If anything, it actually probably makes the trailer worse. I feel like if you put more expectations on it by putting a date and a thing, and then the trailer comes out and people go, "Wow, it looked pretty okay, I guess," but why did they make a big song and dance over that thing? Like, I don't know. Yeah, it's just frustrating.
Yeah. Right.
Do you have anything else? I'm just gonna.
No,
you're on the same page. I think you're on the same page as me.
So much, yeah. Now, we'll move on to something you've done recently, is a 24-hour movie marathon.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about this too much because I kind of can't. But so every year at the Hollywood in Avondale, they do the 24-hour movie marathon. They screen 13, 14 films in a row. Depends on the run times. This year it went a little bit over. It was 25 hours just on. Or maybe just short of, just because sample number of movies, and it was also the 20th anniversary. I can't really talk about what was shown because we're not allowed to really officially because of certain legal issues, and also just because there's stuff in there that hasn't come out yet. And that's the only thing I can say. There was one movie that hasn't come out at all anywhere yet, and that was amazing to see. And when it comes out, I will tell everyone what it was, and then tell them to go see it. There was a couple of other ones from 2019 which I can talk about. We saw the Peanut Butter Falcon. That was really good. I saw was it Swedish or Norwegian? I've forgotten which film. Which was also really good, which had only been out in a month in its home country. So the rest of the marathon is basically a mixture of old, new. There's some cheesy 80s or 90s action. There's some dramas. There's horror. There's painfully bad art house film at some point in the morning that draws everyone into slumber. This year, the one that I had never heard of, I managed to stay awake mostly through the entertainment of hearing other people being woken up by things in the movie waking them up, which was great. A guy fell off the end of the seat at the end of our aisle, which was hilarious. It's not for everyone. I can definitely get the idea that sitting there for 24 hours and watching movies is not for everyone, but if you do it, it's absolutely brilliant. As far as I'm saying, if you're a big movie buff and you are interested in seeing anything and everything, you don't usually know what you're going to see most years. I highly recommend it. It's always every December, and it pretty much always fills up. I think it was mostly pretty full, so very good. You've been to it before as well, Ryan?
Yeah, I went to I deducted it was the 2011 one I went to, so it's a while ago now. So I should probably get my ass to another one.
I tried to get you there this year, but unfortunately you just couldn't get away from work, which is understandable. You were very keen to go, and you would have seen a couple of good movies I think you would have enjoyed. But yeah, when some of those movies, if any of those movies that I can't talk about do come out, I'll talk about them at the time because there's definitely some relevance to that. But anyway, yeah, I just thought I'd touch on it and keep an eye out. Very much if you're in New Zealand, especially in Auckland, definitely worth checking out every year around that time.
All right, we'll move on to our review section now. We'll start off with Last Christmas, which me and my girlfriend Anne went and saw a couple of weeks ago, which thank you for the double pass that you got from your Terminator stable.
Oh, yes, all right.
Armageddon.
I thought it would be a nice date night movie for you too.
Yeah.
You can have dinner and go enjoy a movie, and I think that's what you ended up doing.
Yeah, I think so. My memory lacks, but I think that's what I did. Well, we did.
You were at work and you went into Newmarket or something, I think.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Something like that.
I think that's what you guys saying you were doing.
Yeah, so It wasn't really ruined per se for me, but you kind of mentioned to me that there was a twist in it that you had predicted just by seeing the trailer. So I'm sitting there for like the whole runtime going, what's it going to be? 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 And it wasn't until it's sort of more revealed. I was like, there it is.
Do you see how I managed to work it out from that trailer?
I definitely can though, but yeah, I was just sitting there.
I'm sorry, I feel real bad about that now. I jokingly said
well done to you for picking it out, but I was just sitting there.
It was just so obvious when you put that into the start of your movie trailer, and then the first shots you show is what happened to her the previous Christmas. I'm like, oh no, they're not. Oh no, they're not. Yeah, they're doing it.
Yeah, see, because I hadn't even seen the trailer either, so I had no idea.
I think you saw the trailer after. I showed you the trailer
that night, afterwards.
Yeah, just to show you. So, and when you said that's right, I do remember this. You said, "Oh, okay, yeah, that's pretty obvious."
Yeah, it's definitely your sort of girl meets boy sort of love story, but it's not the sort of love story you think it is.
Mm. Was it?
And I think the way the twist goes is you're like, oh, okay. So she's found love in the right place, but the wrong place at the same time, in a way.
Well, I want to ask you another question, because I haven't asked anyone of this. Because I checked with people after I made the assumption and I didn't see the movie, and then I would ask people who had seen it, is this what happened? They told me yes, and I was like, okay, so I did guess right. But was it funny? That's the thing. Like, at the end of the day, it's supposed to, the prestiges and the background
was pretty funny.
Had some good laughs.
There's definitely some pretty good moments in it.
Because I think that's funny. The thing, you take something that, and I love how we both beat around the bush about that spoiler actually is, and anyone who's listening who hasn't seen it was planning on seeing it for some reason.
Well, it's still in cinema, so I don't want to talk too much about it.
Well, it's probably going to sit there like you were now and going, oh, when's this twist going to happen?
Yeah, sorry about that.
But this is the thing, like I think that pathos only works if you've got a good counterbalance, so it needs to be slightly sweet and slightly funny.
Yeah,
it definitely
has that.
Yeah, and that's the only reason those sorts of things work. And it's the thing. I would have easily sat through it. I had even though I'd worked it out, I probably wouldn't have had any problem sitting down and seeing it. It was nice to let you guys see it. I think it was a better option than me trying to find someone else to drag, to come along who probably wasn't going to see it as well. But it was more about you guys getting to see a movie and you get to talk about it, which was a nice change. So in the end, did you enjoy it? I think that's
I enjoyed it.
It was. That's the thing that's important. It was enjoyable.
It's definitely a very feel good sort of movie. It's especially set at Christmas as well.
Nice. Yeah, it's definitely the right time of year. So, and it's a thing. I have not seen it, but having seen stuff in the trailer, knowing that area in central London at Christmas is very nice and like well lit. And there's always like what you're seeing is not set dressing really. They do that a lot in the central city, especially Oxford and.
I could almost believe that they actually filmed it literally last Christmas. Or
I wouldn't
be
surprised.
Christmas before.
I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Because I mean, if you're going to do that in the middle of summer, it's kind of a lot of effort for like what, a month's worth of filming or something.
Probably, yeah. But who knows? Stranger things have happened. Yeah. Shall we move forward to the next one?
Yeah.
I went and saw Ford v Ferrari, or as some places it's known as Le Mans 66 for some crazy reason.
Yeah.
Really good. I can see why everyone's like, oh, it's kind of Oscar baity, but also kind of Oscar worthy. James Mangold directed it. He's the guy that did Logan. He's done Walk the Line. So he's gone this big mixture of big boss pictures and kind of well-known and then like good biopic, and it's got a good balance between the two. It's very character driven. It plays a little bit loose with the truth when it needs to, but they're marketing more of these movies as based on true events rather than saying it's a true story, which I really like, because that's true. A lot of it is true, a lot of it is accurate, and some of it isn't. It's just for narrative pacing or scale. So they kind of blow over the fact that actually Ford went to Le Mans the year before and failed miserably. They just ignore that. They just make it that 66 was the first year they ever went, and just kind of make it that kind of big event. Oh, hang on, do that, because they talk about, now I'm trying to remember which race he doesn't go to. Maybe it is 65, they do go there and blow out. I've forgotten now. I was pretty sure they were talking about another race, like one of the other races, and then he does a bunch of the 24s. But the absurdist truth of the outcome of the race at the end is the truth, and that part is the bit that is really important that it's in there. Christian Bale, again, just excels in just disappearing into a character. Matt Damon is Matt Damon, and he does well, and he's good. It's good casting, but he wasn't as believable as Bale's falling into his character was. But everyone else, it's a visually really good movie, and like when later on, I wanted to know how they did the racetrack itself, and to do the racetrack, it was all shot in America, so they had to basically fake this track in Europe, in America, and they did it by using, I think it was like 10 or 11 different locations for different parts of the track.
Yeah.
And some copious amounts of CG, but good level CG where there's actual practical effects and CG extensions and stuff. Really good. It was an amazing experience, and I definitely recommend it. And if you can see it on a bigger format, the better it is.
Okay.
I won't be surprised if it's up for a few Oscars too.
Yeah. You saw Knives Out as well?
Yeah, I still recommend it for everyone, honestly.
It's a Rian Johnson film.
Yeah. It's hard to talk about without like spoiling anything. It's one of those movies that kind of, it has its own twist, and your main reveal isn't the important part, because that bit you get away finding out the truth quite early on, or early-ish, but it's the implications of that and everything else that's going on that makes it much more twisty and interesting and keeps you guessing, and you never have enough time to really overthink anything, because all of a sudden something else is presented or something else happens or somebody else does or says something about the events of what's been going on or what's surrounding it. And this bickering family is so well cast. Like, you could joke about stunt casting having so many famous people in these movies, but that's kind of what they used to do with these old, classic murder mysteries, and it fits really well for the style. But it creates all these very unique characters and unique situations, and it's I honestly can't recommend it enough. Definitely a really good movie.
Okay. I was going to try to come up with a pun there, but I couldn't think of anything, so we'll move on. Ready or Not for the next review?
Yeah, so I went to Ready or Not the other night as well.
No, I was actually asking, are you ready or not?
I'm out.
Yeah, all right, carry on.
Damn it, how did I fall for that one? So Ready or Not was kind of both what I was expecting and both not what I was expecting, which was kind of cool. On the surface, it seems very straightforward. If you've seen the trailers, then you kind of expected this. So this woman's there and she's getting married, and then the family have this bizarre kind of thing that they do is like a family initiation ritual. You join the family and they're supposed to play a game, because the family made its money from being card manufacturers and board game manufacturers and stuff. And that's how the family became wealthy. But then there's a twist to that, and to kind of the trailer shows enough to explain, obviously, there's a twist, and the family is somehow trying to hunt her down. Like, it's like a game of hide and seek, which is where the Ready or Not title comes from. And not hide and seek, because that's a different movie. But, like, when you actually find out the machinations of what's actually happening, what's causing it, why, it's kind of very interesting. It's somewhat predictable, but then it's done in such a way that I'm kind of like, yeah, that's actually kind of cool. And the way it unfolds is a combination of, like, intensity, scares, a little bit of gruesomeness, but not too much, and a really interesting outcome. So, which pays off quite a lot at the end. I recommend it. I don't know if you have to see it at the movies, but if you saw it or wanted a good like horror-y, because there's a little bit of comedy elements to it, but it's mostly a more horror thriller kind of focus. You couldn't go wrong, really. To be honest, I think it's worth watching.
Okay. And one thing that everybody's probably been waiting this past hour or so for a review on was a little indie film called Star Wars, which we saw at midnight. Yeah.
Gosh, where do we begin? Like, this is the thing. There's a lot to unpack, and so
I don't know about you, but I'm definitely still processing a good chunk of it, of what happened.
I think I am. I think it's been interesting because obviously I didn't read any reviews. I read early impressions from the premiere, a couple of them, like 2 or 3. And just to see what the first initial buzz was. But usually those sort of things are reasonably positive, which is what I expect. But today, being that I've already seen the movie, I'm seeing the reviews going up, and it's amazing seeing the critical response to this movie. It's so mixed, and there's so many critics that are actually like, you know what, Last Jedi was a bit of movie, and you guys didn't like that, and this is what you get.
Yeah.
And it's kind of true. Like, I can't unsay that's not correct. Like, I feel like there was one quote, and the more I thought about it, and I don't know if you agree with this. This is not taking away from what I thought about the movie. I still thought it was a really good movie, personally. But hear this comment and see if you think this is right. J.J. Abrams made a sequel to a film. It was his film, not the one that came before it.
Oh.
Yeah.
That changes things.
Yeah. So you think about that more, and I started to go, you know what? There's a lot of truth in that. There's the payoffs that arise in this film. A lot of them are seated on what happened in the first movie, not necessarily what happened in the last movie.
Yeah.
And you start seeing these comments from the filmmakers about the second movie and how, you know, they're like, oh, well, you know, there was decisions made and it definitely enthused where we went forward on this, but they weren't exceptionally positive about the decisions that were made in that second film, and basically throwing Johnson a little bit under the bus over it. And yet the critics were all like, this is unique and interesting because he's doing something different, really, subverting our expectations and challenging our thoughts and and the fans didn't like that. If you were one of those people that really didn't like The Last Jedi, you're going to probably love Rise of Skywalker because it does everything that you probably wanted it to. But if you're wanting something that makes you think more about it, then you're probably going to not be so challenged. Because I think that's the thing I've come to realise today, is processing this. I have less to think about. It's not just because it's a wrap to a saga or a trilogy or anything. It's just literally the decisions that were made sound sense. They're perfectly fine. But they're not challenging. They're not unpredictable. But I didn't walk out of that movie the same way I walked out of Last Jedi, thinking about the implications of where it was going next, or what was going to happen to. It's not even about what characters, because obviously, again, it's the end of a series, but like more about the sort of impact about those decisions. Were those decisions hard? Were there challenges faced that were insurmountable? There's a lot of talk about this is their last chance, the last chance of this, last hope, last final thing, blah, 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 throughout the movie. And yet, when I thought about it, a lot of it doesn't come under that circumstances. A lot of the stuff that should be challenging, I don't want to say it's hand-waved away, but it is kind of somewhat ignored, I think, or the easy ways given out. I mean, I can use one example that anyone listening to was not going to be surprised by a spoiler for that. But obviously, the pretense of the trailer with C-3PO was that obviously, he was saying goodbye to his friends because he's going to lose his memory, and he did. And they play it for some comedic laughs for a while, and then was it about maybe 25 minutes later, R2-D2 gives him a backup of his memory. And there he is. He's back to normal. Oh, okay. Well, that didn't have much of a payoff. It gave us some humour for a little while, but it didn't have any lasting long consequences.
I kind of think that they kind of underplayed that, because if they kept him where, he did actually say goodbye to his friends, it would probably have more of a feeling as a wrap-up to, I guess, his arc and R2's arc as a goodbye to all the fans that have gone to see it over the past 40 or so years as well, who I guess I would treat the Star Wars characters as friends, or if you get what I mean.
Yeah, I guess, and this is what I'm thinking, because and the thing is, not a non-precedence for his memory being wiped, because clearly it happened at the end of the prequel trilogy.
Yeah.
So here
it goes. Protocol droid. He's supposed to have it done, and then they just do it, and it would just been like the circumstances surrounding it is sad, and he makes as a droid, he makes a conscious decision to allow it. In the end, like he thinks about it. I guess. Yeah, he does.
Which is that moment where he goes and looks at it. So this is just one example, and these sorts of things are smattered throughout the movie. They're not wrong. They're not bad, but they are very safe.
Yeah,
I want to say. So I enjoyed the movie. Like, if you were to ask me, like, oh, you want to score out of 10? Yeah, cool. It was a great 7 or 8, as an exciting adventure film with some great moments and some awesome story beats. But on the scale of Star Wars films, then it's a little bit of a different question. Like, do I feel this is a better film out of the trilogy? No, actually, I think out of the 3 films in the current trilogy, it's probably the weakest. And the more I think about it, more I'm on the board of, you know what, that's actually kind of the balance of maybe if J.J. Abrams was trying to make a cursor to the original trilogy, where most people would probably go Empire's the strongest, Star Wars the second, and Jedi's the 3rd weakest. That's exactly what we got here. I like Jedi the most. Force Awakens, pretty good, and this was the weakest of the 3.
Yeah.
That's not saying don't go see it. Of course you're going to see it. Disney's going to make fucking bank again. But it just doesn't. I don't think in the long lasting thing, and it goes back to that prediction I said to you earlier. I think when all the dust is settled and we look further down the track and people start looking at it, hopefully people start reevaluating Last Jedi for doing something different and interesting. And I want to bring one full circle back to Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, because that to me is much more interesting than what I just watched last night.
Yeah.
And not in a bad way. There's not every episode of Mandalorian's great, but it's doing something different with Star Wars mythology by meshing blends of things like a Western and this, but it's doing it in a way that's keeping me engaged. It's episodic, I get that, but it's kind of the way the narrative storytelling is doing something challenging. And I get that point of like Star Wars trying to balance those two things, like between fandom, pleasing everyone and pleasing no one. I don't know. That's my take. I'm going to let you ramble for your next 5-10 minutes like I have, because it's not just about what I've got to think. I want to know what you've been thinking.
My initial review of it, I'd read something a couple of months ago now of, I guess, what was an early script leak, which I think many people had come out and said, oh no, none of this is actually happening in the story at all. Like, it was just, a first rough draft.
Yeah. But
thinking about it, a lot of what I read actually happened in the movie.
Oh, jeez. See, so I avoided this. So.
Yeah, well, I think I just, same situation with you and Wonder Woman. I sort of started reading and I was like, oh, shit, this is actually going into some detail.
And you're like, oh.
And then I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to stop now. Yeah. Because it didn't say, spoilers ahead. It just said, potential first draft of a script.
And you're like, this can't be right. And it was like, part of you wants to read it because when someone says this, you're like, it's a bunch of bullshit because people make up stuff on the internet all the time. So you start reading it. And
you're kind of intrigued.
But when it gets really detailed, you start going, whoa, if this is true, happen. I don't know if I want to know this. And I can't unsee what I can't read, so I'm going to stop now.
Yeah, and now actually from reading that and seeing the movie, I was like, oh, that wasn't really a surprise for me at all.
Yeah. I'm not gonna do it here. I'm gonna ask you to tell me what those were off the recording.
I will.
I'd be interested to know what they were.
Yeah, and when this comes out on DVD or whatever, I may bring it up again as to what they were on the record officially.
Cool, we can talk about it a bit more clearly once people have probably seen it.
Yeah,
and the big hardcore fans have seen it multiple times. I think that's another question I'm going to ask you just straight off the bat. Would you go see it again, like at the movies?
Yeah.
So
I'd probably go see it again. Just not the fact that where we were sitting was bad, as I'd probably prefer it more centered, so you get all the sound as well, because you sit one side of a cinema, you get all that side of the sound.
Mostly, I get what you mean. I got used to the screen after a while.
You get used to it, but I feel with Star Wars, to me anyway, you need to be proper center.
Yeah.
Or at least as center as you can.
Just for clarification, we were sitting in an IMAX theater. This is why we also saw the Tenant prologue, but we were on the right side, just down from the top. And so we were the screen was slightly askew to the right, and obviously the audio, we're getting more of the right side than we are of the left. We're getting right centre, not so much the left. What did you think walking out, as opposed to, you've had some time to digest? Like, I think I've given you a little bit more food for thought, having talked about what I've seen from critics and stuff.
I definitely, as far as a saga wrapper goes, I actually think it wrapped it up pretty nicely with sort of, originally this was supposed to be, a Carrie Fisher film, it's supposed to feature her more prominently, and they gave her a top billing, as they should have, I guess, regardless of whether, she'd died or not, but... I think the footage they had unused from Force Awakens and The Last Jedi left over of Carrie Fisher, they used pretty well, and you couldn't tell. In my opinion, you couldn't go, oh, that looks a bit tacky.
There was only, I think there was one shot I saw, which was in a group when they were talking. I can't remember what they were talking in the group, and she's kind of. It looks like she's pasted it.
Yeah.
I think that's like the only time I went, that's...
Yeah.
But the rest...
Everything else, you could swear, they may have had like a month or two before she died to film something, and they've just put that in, and it's like, it works seamlessly.
I mean, it's a question we're never going to get answered. I'd be very interested in what the movie would have been like if she'd been still alive when they were filming it, and how much it would have influenced or changed the narrative. Because I would be interested to know if the end point of that movie would have probably not changed. I think that
probably would have been very similar. I think.
Yeah. She just would have more scenes in the movie, but I think the way that the movie finishes probably wouldn't have changed drastically.
No. Yeah, but I really enjoyed it as, like I said, as the end of the saga and also the end of that trilogy as well. And I think now, I guess we may see some of that cast back in like a TV series, if they're going to go with all these new TV series with like the Mandalorian and the Obi-Wan series coming out. Was it in 2021? So we could have like almost a Marvel what if sort of scenario, perhaps.
Yeah, I
to continue that story, but
or others. Yeah,
I don't know. Do we need another sort of movie Probably not.
They're going to do it anyway.
Yeah, they'll probably do it anyway.
Well, they've already announced. This is what we were talking about last episode. He's opposing the Avatar films.
Yeah, but I think at this stage they're just going to be like sort of standalone, like Rogue One or Solo sort of films. I don't think they're going to be a continuation as such of the Skywalker saga.
I think this is the conclusion.
Yeah, but yeah, I really enjoyed it. I reckon it's probably my favourite of this trilogy.
Okay, that's really impressive. Okay, without spoilers, as best you can, favourite part, least favourite part.
All right. My favourite part. Okay, I suppose because it's in the trailer, would probably be the lightsaber fight on the remnants of the Death Star.
Yeah,
I guess, and I guess the final battle as well. When, like, again in the trailer, you see all the ships, like that harkened. It was, to me, that harkened back to Return of the Jedi, and I really enjoyed that final battle in Return of the Jedi. Like, granted, Empire's still my favourite Star Wars film overall. Wow. Actually, I might have to rejudge this now, but we'll see. I'll come back to this at a later date.
You need time to digest this. I think.
I suppose of the original trilogy, Empire's still my favourite.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, just the final battle in Jedi I really enjoyed.
And least favourite.
Least favourite. No, not on the spot. I'd have to go away and think about this. I really can't think.
Interestingly, my favourite and my least favourite are like connected. They're exactly the same things.
Yeah.
But I can't talk about it because it's a spoiler.
Okay.
I will tell you later.
Yeah.
And I'll talk about it another time when I can, when it's been out long enough. But it's kind of funny to me. It's kind of weird to me that it's both, like, one part of it is cool and one part of it is not cool.
Yeah.
But yeah. It's kind of funny. Any final thoughts? Actually, I'm going to ask you. Sorry, before you say that, right. You were just saying this. You think this might be your favorite? What's the order of this trilogy if you had to pick? Because I've gone through and said I think this is my least favorite of the trilogy. I think it's more in kin with the original. To me personally,
I'd probably go.
I still enjoyed it, but
probably go this. I'd probably go reverse order of release. Actually, I'd probably go this, Last Jedi, and then Force Awakens.
Okay, cool. All right,
I guess. Yep, I don't know. I'll come back to that as well.
Yeah, it's all right. For now, this is why we've got to preface this on the fact that it's been like
not even 24 hours.
Yeah, for like 14 hours or something since we saw it. Any last thoughts? Like,
I think we talked about this in the car on the way home. Is that especially the final battle scene with all the ships? Someone's definitely going to frame by frame that and call out different ships from.
I think
like,
throughout
different clans from like Clone Wars and Rebels and other sorts of media. Because
I think that's definitely the case. And throughout the movie, there'll be other little. I think there's definitely little Easter eggs and things that people will be able to point out.
Actually, I have thought of my least favourite thing.
What's that?
Dominic Moynihan. What the hell was he doing there? Like, I'm sorry. I like Dominic Moynihan. He was good in Lord of the Rings and he was good in Lost. But
he was just there.
I think, like, to me, like, he was there and I was like, what, is he going to be like some sort of spy and he's going to like blow up half the ships or something and like cripple them again? But
the best thing he gets to do...
He didn't need to be there,
the best thing he gets to do is reference Last Jedi's Holdo maneuver. That's the only thing.
That's about it. But
the best thing he gets to reference.
Other than that, like, I'm like, why does he need to be there? Like, that's my least favourite moment is Dominic Moynihan.
Oh wow,
I'm sorry, but
that's way more specific than I was expecting. All right, cool.
Sorry, I just thought of it because I'd mentioned it to Anne earlier. I was like, it's the one thing I hated about
What was he doing in that movie? He did nothing.
Well, it's like, you know, if you have like a real small indie movie and you have like a real big A-list superstar for like a 30-second cameo.
He could have just been a different actor.
Exactly. It'd be like Wayne's World 2. Could we not have found a better actor? You know?
He wasn't that bad.
No, I know.
Like, acting-wise.
He could have, you know...
He could have been so bad.
He could have just been some actor trying to make his way in Hollywood.
Well, this is the thing. We know this, that throughout these three movies, they've stunt casted a few people like who've wanted to be like stormtroopers, and I suspect some of those stormtroopers in this movie are the same. We don't know who they are. Some people might recognise their voices. Some of them are not the actual people; they're just ADR.
Yeah, I've already seen one person who I was like, oh, he's a stormtrooper.
Oh, okay.
Which I can tell off the record.
Yeah, okay, cool. Keep that out of there as well. So you know there's going to be a bunch of those too, and so I guess it's kind of the same sort of thing. It's just someone that obviously that Abrams has worked with before.
Yeah.
Wanted to put in there in a role. So, yeah. All right. I couldn't think about talking about this without sounding like I was negative, because I am saying, like, I think it is, like, the more I think about the critics' responses to it, it's like, well, it does open up a thought to me about, like, how it is more of a sequel to his own film than it is to the last film. And I was like, that's kind of true, and I kind of get that. But it still doesn't mean it's bad. It's just, I think the simple fact about Star Wars is it's not going to please everyone.
No.
I think that's it. And if you accept that fact, you're either going to really enjoy something or not enjoy it. But at the end of the day, it's not going to matter. It's because someone will, you know. That's it.
Right, so we've come to the point in our show where we'd normally do films but badly, but looking at the time, and I think we've run a little bit long for this one, so we're probably going to cut it for this episode, so hopefully you don't feel too bad about that.
It's crazy. I honestly, with the amount of news that we had, I thought we'd be like, pretty quick through it, and we kind of were, but there was actually a lot to talk about with both the trailers and obviously a long ramble about things, including Star Wars.
Reviews and stuff as well.
So, it's taken us a lot longer, and I think this will be close to a 2-hour runtime, which is about our standard, it seems, these days. So, that said, we'll probably skip it for this episode, so if you were looking forward to it, then sorry, but I think probably people weren't really looking that much forward to it.
If you were looking forward to it, like, please mention it.
Yeah, we'll mention it. We'll play another round next time.
We'll do it like doubly hard or something.
I'm hoping at some point we'll sit down and do a year-end review kind of episode. It'll only be a little bonus episode, about an hour long.
Yeah.
So if we may end up tacking it onto that, maybe, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll put it first or something, or I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Well, I guess that's it for this episode then. Thank you for joining the 2 monkeys on the 12 monkeys.
Yep. For this episode 12, 13 if you're playing along unofficially.
Unofficially, that's 6.5. That's special. It's been a really good year, and I can't believe we got through a whole year of doing this. This is quite amazing. I have no idea how long we'll continue to do this.
No, I think one thing you would focus to is that you mentioned yesterday is that we've got to 100 followers
on Facebook, which was quite impressive.
I know that's not much, but I mean,
we're not really promoting.
I don't think we have a large audience, so I don't know how many of those 100 people actually listen to us. But if you do listen to us, thank you.
I think our average download listens episodes around 30. I think.
Well, that's not too bad.
So I'm quite happy with that. And they, a month at a go. So it's nice to see it spreading there.
That's good. Well, hopefully, if you are one of said 30 or
30 or so,
30 or so, please do share it around more. Tell all your friends, your family,
we appreciate
neighbours, whoever else you'll talk to.
You get your dog to listen. That's
even if you go to Sunday confessional, tell the minister there. Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. I listened to a podcast.
Yeah, about movies, and these guys swore a little bit. Yeah.
I don't know what goes on in confessionals, so I don't know. Protocol.
That was so random.
I don't know. I'm just trying to promote it elsewhere.
Yeah, I get it. I get where you're going.
If you're giving Sunday Mass in your church, you go up there and go, God said to... No, I won't go into that because I'll get in trouble. But, just pop it up in your Sunday Mass. Just
put it on the church newsletter.
Exactly. There you go. Put it on your children's school newsletter if you're spread it
local
around.
Sports team and or cultural group.
Exactly. Do something like that. That'll do. That'll get us followers.
Maybe we should start doing that. Just go around and start pitting things to local sports teams and or cultural group.
We'll make our own flyers, just post them outside schools.
Oh, what are we doing?
Right, we've had 12 months of wackiness. We've got too many ideas.
Too many wacky ideas. All right, well, thank you again. Have a great holiday season from both of us. And we will see you in the new year.
Yep. See you.
Bye.